All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics or Local. And of course, y'all know this is the election season, and so we're going to have a number of the candidates that are running in the race. We're going to have them on the show tonight. We're also going to have the incumbent mayor. He's going to be coming through tonight as well. So, we're going to try and delve into some real serious conversations about some of the things that's, excuse me, some of the things that's going on in the city. And forgive my coughing. I'm struggling with trying to get over a little cold that's trying to come up on me. So, we're going to talk about a number of things tonight. But, one of the most important things is about, what's going on with the elections and so forth in the city of Newark. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk to some of the guests. And when John, of course, comes back on, we'll give you the rundown to what's going on. What's going on, Zaid?
Hey, everybody.
How's everything?
All right, all right, all right. Hectic, hectic, hectic.
What's good, brother?
That's a good question because Supreme Court ain't good. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
Did
wow.
you do the rundown yet?
No,
You guys,
no.
everybody, getting on late, but we juggling a lot. It's a full week and it's a full Friday. In addition to 2 hours full of candidates who are running for local office here in Newark, we're going to have a heavy conversation around 8 on what the Supreme Court decision means locally and in other places around the country. Right? Sharp young sister Nuzhat Chowdhury from the Jersey Institute for Social Justice will join us in the need to push for a John Lewis voting rights advancement bill here in New Jersey as an anecdote to that mess that's happening out of the Supreme Court. And what has already happened in Memphis, Tennessee. You know that where Dr. King was assassinated, put it all on the line for our people. The only black voting district in the whole state of Tennessee already been gutted.
Yeah.
Gutted. But our people are resisting and making noise. And one of our favorite young organizers, Amber Sherman, is going to join that conversation to let us know where that's at and where that's going. So it's a heavy night, heavy night.
Yeah. I can't wait until we jump into that conversation at 8 o'clock, particularly as it relates to everything that's going on with the Supreme Court. Because it seems like, this has all been a plan, just based on, taking away political power from, particularly from black folks in America. So, it's going to be a serious conversation. I can't wait until we have that, you know. It would have been good to have Larry in that conversation. You know,
He's got another he's got another thing he does with his Friday show on Fridays. It makes him a little more difficult to get these days.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, we will endeavor to try and move forward and have those conversations. But I think that when we get into these political conversations tonight, hopefully we can try and tamp down some of the crazy nonsense that's going on in the city, and try and make it strictly about about the election. Um, because at the end of the day, it's really about trying to make sure we show up for the people in the city of Newark, um, and be on that point. So, um, when John come through, we'll run down some of those folks who are going to come up tonight, and some of the conversations that we're going to have. You know,
Indeed, 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 indeed. I thought he was just on. He logged in. What
no,
happened?
he's with us. He's
Okay.
trying to reach out to
Another
one of the
candidate.
candidates who was supposed to be up at 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
So he's trying to reach out to him to see what's going on with that, because we don't have a lot of time to play with tonight. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So folks need to come up, show up, and get on. What else is going on, Zaid, besides this crazy, uh, election and crazy, crazy stuff going on with the Supreme Court?
That ain't enough.
I guess you're right about that. Yeah,
Ain't enough. You
yeah,
know, this is. I mean, certainly we can build on that. You know, this whole question about temporary protected status for folks trying to lawfully and legally and uprightly apply for citizenship. All that is under attack. All of this stuff is under attack. For folks who do not believe that there is a whole sea of racist folks in this country who are supremely intentional about preserving white supremacy at all costs, no matter who they harm, who they replace, who they get rid of, who they lock up, who
right.
they kick out the country, or who they kill. They're serious.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Question whether or not we're going to be serious enough to honor this moment the way our ancestors honored the moment that gave us the epic golden age of struggle that was the 1960s.
you
I'm
know, and that's true. Or are we going to rise to the moment? I don't know, Zaid.
Yeah. Project 25 is in full effect.
Yeah,
They're very deliberate about what they're doing. I just read and I didn't get a chance to post it yet, but my dear friend and comrade Melina Abdullah, Black Lives Matter grassroots, took apart the bootlicking legacy of who Mira used to call Tom Ass Clarence
yeah, right.
decision. Just reminded everybody just how much and how long he has been the bootlicker that he is, right? And what we need to appreciate, and I'm sure we'll get into this later on, is two other particular important hitmen. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, built his whole judicial career on being a part of that schematic attempt to dismantle this Voting Rights Act. It's no
Right.
accident in history that he is where he is and doing what he did. And keeping it local, all politics are local. The justice who wrote the majority decision is a racist from New Jersey named Samuel Alito.
Right.
With moments when folks were doing protests at his house to expose just kind of racist this clown is, and there's a place to consider revisiting that. One of my favorite protests, and Supreme Court decisions take years to undo. We need to be real clear about that too.
Right.
Right. One of my favorite protests some years ago in the realm of civil disobedience, we did a mass die-in at the very Supreme Court. I went to jail with a legend from the anti-apartheid movement named Dennis Brutus. Dennis was a legendary poet, a warrior in the ANC, and survived being shot by the police of the apartheid regime. It was a bunch of us, this whole bunch of us that did that. But this was for Mumia Abu Jamal when we were battling his situation on death row. And we got some movement on that. We got him off death row.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get him the hell out now for real.
Right.
We got him off death row. But this is the time where folks need to be as imaginative and unapologetic and as possible in confronting this racist demon as much as we possibly can. And we should also appreciate this. And I ain't nobody's Democrat, y'all know that. But elections have consequences.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Had Jack Chitterelli won that last election, the very stuff we're talking about in Louisiana,
Yeah.
Alabama, Texas, Tennessee will be right here at our doorsteps.
Yep.
Right here. Right here. In the up south soprano state of New Jersey, the slave state of the North. Governor the new governor said she's very interested in doing a Democratic action in response to their Republican action if need be. So we'll see. But more than that, and this is we'll go to the conversation later on, that already passed through the assembly is the New Jersey John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Now, why hasn't it gone through the Senate?
Well, where did it pass at?
No, we did. We can't limit our protests to these backwards right-wing Republicans, but we got some jive Democrats that are in the way too. And I'm talking about none other than the Speaker of the Senate, Mr. Chowdhury. We need to put some pressure on his behind unapologetically. We got it through the assembly. Why can't we get it through the Senate? Give us a real reason why that hasn't happened and why that shouldn't happen. And I would dare say that he cannot, or anybody cannot do that. And if it's a problem for him, then we need to look at how to get rid of his behind and put somebody else in that seat. That's me. This is not the opinion of all politics of locals, not the opinion of any other so-called, elected Democrats and none of y'all friends. This is me saying that.
Right.
Right? But that's what, as far as I'm concerned, why dance around that?
Mm-hmm.
That is the anecdote for this area, for our people in this state. Then damn it, I want the anecdote. I don't want no questions and nothing wishy-washy about it. So,
Yeah, tell it like it is, Zach.
When this dropped, and then the great Jonathan Alson has emerged and has joined us. And so let me shut up and let Jonathan jump. And he got a tie on too. You're looking dapper tonight. Where you at, Jonathan?
I'm just working regular school day. I decided to look good. Came just straight from work. So, welcome to All Politics So Local. We have an exciting show tonight. We were supposed to have our first guest up here, someone who's running for mayor, and hopefully they will still come in. But just to run down how our political interviews go, in case, like behind the scenes, in case you don't know how we do our different political interviews, they're really with the guys of doing what we want is to have civic discourse. We want people to be able to say who they are, say what policies they support, and be able to, explain what they mean. Now, from behind the scenes, one thing that we do with all of our political candidates that are on is we actually give them the questions beforehand, right? You have the question areas, you have those beforehand, so you can prepare your answer. Now, we ask follow-up questions, and it's always good to ask these follow-up questions so there's a lively discussion. But this goes back to a philosophy I have of disclosure and not playing gotcha with questions, right? So people know what the questions are beforehand. They can prepare good answers, and then we go back and forth from there. And generally that is true, and that is how we do it, especially if they don't know us, especially if they think that the interview is going to be a little controversial, if they think the interview, if they have doubts or anything like that. We do this so that any candidate, whether or not it is perceived we support the candidate, whether it's perceived that we do not support the candidate, they can feel comfortable coming on, and they know the arena in which they're playing. So if you notice our show, we literally been giving the same questions to all of the candidates, especially the ones who don't know us, right? The questions are real simple, right? We ask about your biography. We ask about the policies that you would support in, that are going on now. What do you think is successful? What do you think is not successful? What would you do different? And we get them to talk in terms of problem and solution. And that's what we always want to do. This everybody can diagnose a problem, right? We can all diagnose a problem. but can you articulate solutions to those problems? And so we're like, hey, if you can articulate solutions to problems, then come on down, right? Like the first question that we've been asking all the candidates is about their biography. What about your biography qualifies you for the office? And that's usually an easy question for everyone to answer, right? They got to know something about themselves. They got to know something about themselves and how it impacts the job they want to do. The second question is really about, can the candidate envision solutions to problems? And that's, up to the candidate. And we ask them, they know that beforehand. We are consistent with how we ask. If you go back to many of our interviews before, they roughly follow along the same pattern. And as in this election cycle, the questions have been about biography and policy. We asked a question about unity to everyone else. We ask a question about, we talk about the potential rift between Blacks and Latinos, that potential that's there, that cultural impact that we had that blew up a few years ago. But we think that it's important that every candidate has an idea of how to unite the city. How do we go from outside of our silos and do the thing that many of us who grew up in Newark are used to, and that is, how do we really progress together? How do we realize that our battles are actually the same? So that is something that we offer to all candidates for a public office, because again, and Ed can attest to this, Saeed can attest to this, we started doing this because we actually believe in civic discourse. So all candidates should be welcome to come on. If you don't like some of our guests, that's fine. That's cool, but you don't have to necessarily be on with guests that you don't like, right? We are here in terms of what we do. So, and of course, also, we never advertise guests unless we get a confirmation as well. So for those who are wondering, why aren't these guests here, right? So we don't advertise unless there's actually a confirmation. So I hope that explains that. And I thought it was necessary to explain our policy of civic discourse, and that it's something that we believe that all candidates who are running for public office should be able to do and can do. You have to represent the people. You have to, beyond all of the noise that happens in politics, you have to be able to talk about what is your vision for how you would affect change. What is good about what's going on? What would you keep? What is bad about what's going on? And not just to label the problem, but what is your specific solution for that problem? Because that's what policy is. Policy is solutions for problems. So yeah, we want to have a discourse on that. So I'm gonna give you the rundown for the rest of the program, and hopefully that is great. So we're supposed to have a candidate on at 6. Hopefully they will come in for the last few minutes of that segment. But if not, at 6:30, we have the Honorable Newark Mayor Ras J. Baraka coming on as a candidate for re-election. At 7 o'clock, we have Westward Councilman Duprè Doitall Kelly as a candidate for re-election. At 7:20, we have Lynn Ogbourne from Orange, New Jersey as a candidate for the North Ward Councilperson. And at 7:40, we have Nadirah Brown, a candidate for Newark Councilperson-At-Large. At 8 o'clock, we're gonna have talk about the Voting Rights Act. There's gonna be fallout from the Supreme Court's gutting of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. We're gonna have Nuzhat Chowdhury of the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice and Memphis writer and activist Amber Sherman. We love having both of them on the show. Amber Sherman is out of Memphis, Tennessee. Last time she was on, she told us all the things that were going on and stuff that she was working on in terms of ICE, what was happening there, how those policies were actually impacting what's going on in Memphis. This is, we really look forward to this tonight because we're gonna see what's going on with respect to New Jersey, what's going on with respect to Memphis, and what are the implications in the country as a whole. So that's the rundown for tonight. That's what's up. And back to you, Ed and Zaid.
You muted, Ed.
Yeah, you're muted.
I think you laid it out pretty good, John, as it relates to, what our policy is and, the civil civic discourse and, in terms of, people trying to come and, block out the noise and have a conversation based around policy and based around ideals that are going to move the city forward. I think that's what we've tried to do, and that's what we've been doing for all these years. So, it would be great, if those folks who are serious about doing those things come and have those conversations. But either way, I think at the end of the day,
I would say as many have, right? We've had other candidates for mayor on that came on the show. They had a great time, right? Like they were able to talk about their ideas. They were able to get those things out. So we have multiple candidates on. We don't just have candidates from one side on. Right. We got everybody on, and most people who come on are like, I got a chance to have my say. That's cool, because that's how it needs to be within the city, right? We need to be able to have these conversations. We need to be able to talk. And there's no need for anyone to be nervous about coming on, because the only thing that we ask from all of our candidates is, can you talk about what you would do to change our city for the better?
Yep.
In a way that's substantive, in a way that talks about actual policy, in a way that people can see solutions to problems and to get an idea of how you would govern.
Right. Right. Now, and beyond that, John, I think that, it comes down to really, being able to talk to people who are people who have a serious background, right? And not saying that you've done the work or saying that that you just come to doing the work, but have a resume that speaks to that and are able to have those kind of conversations with people. And I think that those are the kind of candidates we want to talk to, because for a long time, and Zaid, you can speak to this as well. In the city of Newark, and I can say this has been practiced all of my youth and my adult life. For most brothers and sisters in the city of Newark, when they see something that needs to be done, they don't often wait for elected officials to help them get it done. They go and get it done, right? They get involved in helping folks in the city, and some folks are still doing that and never got a paycheck for it, or didn't need to be an elected official in order to do that kind of work, right? I think that what we have now is we have a lot of folks who believe that they need to be an elected official in order to do that kind of work. Listen, we've been doing this now well over 15 years, and none of us, have ever said, well, we need to be an elected official in order to continue to do the work that we do. And no, we do this work because we think it's important for the community. And we also think it's important at the end of the day to give other folks an opportunity or space to be able to come on and share their visions, right? And we don't just talk politics. I mean, we talk everything, from the beginning of our roots to our history, everything, right? We talk about it. But I think in this election, I think we've got to be serious about what's going on, because I think that, in the age of Donald Trump, in the age of Black folks losing Black political power, we can't afford to be playing in Newark, right? And I think that if we don't become clear about that, and we don't elect the right people, I think what we're going to see in the city of Newark is, I think we're going to see, when people say that, what's going on because of the 1965 voting rights bill, that, we're stepping back 100 years. Well, what's going to happen in Newark? We mess around and elect the wrong people, or we get the wrong people in office. I think that what happens is that we begin to go back. And so I think that, folks who are serious have got to come forward and have those conversations so that people know where they're coming from. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. And I agree. Right. This time, right? Time on our show is a time to clarify stuff, right? It is time to, so that people can know what you stand for and get past a lot of the noise.
That's right.
All right. So we're going to have to continue with election coverage. We're going to be waiting for our next guest to come on, and I think Ed, you'll check on that just to see if they have the link and they have everything they need to come on. But yeah, and I definitely I know that there's a lot going on right now, and you talked about the Voting Rights Act, Zaid.
I did. I did.
Yes. So the question I have for you on the Voting Rights Act, was it already dead, right? After Shelby, and I think that was what, 2013? Shelby first, you said what?
It was put on the ropes.
Okay. Oh, welcome.
Look who's here.
All right. So welcome to All Politics So Local. We have our, what should have been our second guest on the show. Welcome to the presentation. You are running for re-election for a 3rd term. Talk to us about what policies are you most proud of?
You didn't introduce him by name, Jonathan.
We are honored, as always, to have the Honorable Newark Mayor, Raz J. Baraka, on the show. And it's not the mayor's forum. This is just an election campaign appearance.
The mayor's the incumbent mayor.
The incumbent mayor.
Right.
How's everybody doing, man?
We are doing well, man. We are doing very well.
You say in struggle all in the line.
Right. So I didn't hear what you asked in the beginning.
You have been mayor for 3 terms. And you are going for a 4th. What are you most proud of in terms of the accomplishments, and what can we look forward to?
There's a few things that I'm proud of. Obviously, the reduction in violence to historic lows in the city since 1953. Proud of the fact that we established inclusionary zoning in the state of New Jersey. It didn't exist until we made it real in this state. 20% affordable now in the state of New Jersey, and most other cities are trying to adopt what we're doing here in Newark. The fact that we are able to take people who once lived in the projects and give them homes to create wealth, to invest in countless Black and brown businesses, about 58 downtown, 200 million in Black and brown businesses alone. The changing of 23,000 lead service lines without any cost to the taxpayers in less than 3 years, bringing the schools back to local control from under state control, bringing our finances back from state control back into the city's auspices. At the same time, creating a whole arts and entertainment.
Wait, one second that I think that people don't realize, because actually I didn't realize this. I knew the state was control of the school board. The state was in control of our city budget?
Yeah, so the city finances as well. Yep. And we were able to remove them and bring it back under local control here. They had sold all of the city's buildings. We brought them back under the control of the city of Newark. They sold them to the county and leased them. We leased them back, and we brought them all back to us. There's a number of things that we've done that we are super proud of. Here in the city, and we want to continue to do that work here. We are now opening up 5 mutual aid grocery stores that are almost finished across the city, where folks will be paid. Folks will be able to pay based on on their income, the groceries that they're getting. So that is unheard of in a city. We're also
Okay,
partnering
so
with.
that's one thing that I want to slow down on, because again, I really haven't heard of that. I heard about New York trying to open up grocery stores. You're saying that Newark is opening up
Yeah,
grocery stores? What's that about?
yeah, we were doing that before New York. Obviously they're bigger than us and they get more excitement than Newark. So they're going to pick that up. But we're almost finished with 5 mutual aid grocery stores that we're standing up with local nonprofits that people will be able to purchase their groceries based on their income. We're also going to have a couple of days where we give groceries away to people who need it the most, and we're doing public-private partnerships where we are investing in development and condoing out the bottom floor of retail so they can reduce the cost of those groceries based on the city's investment. So we're going to open up 3 of those public-private ones as a pilot. I'm also proud of the fact that we did, our guaranteed income.
One of our listeners asked, will we get one in the East Ward?
Yes, we're going to do one in every ward. We're going to do a mutual aid grocery store in every ward. We actually opening the one in the East Ward where Montana Global is. They have a storefront there. We're getting a storefront from them to open it up in the East Ward as well. Absolutely. So it'll be one in every single ward of the city. Yep. And I almost lost my thought. I was saying that I'm also happy or proud of the fact that we were able to pull ourselves off of the consent decree in the city of Newark. We were under a consent decree for 10 years. When I walked in the door, they put us on a consent decree. Consent decree meaning the police were under the auspices of the federal government, the Department of Justice. We were actually able to pull out of that, reduce the number of issues. Don't mean we don't have any, and we have work to do still, but we've reduced significantly the number of issues that the police department has. We were able to pull ourselves out of that consent decree at the same time.
People who might not know like the significance of that or what it means, some people might hear we were under a federal consent decree and now we're not. Many people think that might not be good, right? Why is it good that we're pulled from that consent decree? What does it mean?
Well, it means that there was significant overhaul and changes in the police department through training, through use of force policies changing, through all of the policies that govern the way police behave, the way they act changed. It also begin to change the culture of what's happening in the police department. At the same time, we also had to create a significant community relations department in the police department, which has been functioning very, very, very well. It also means that we set up what we call a civilian complaint review board, and that we're going to have a long-term monitoring of the police department, a civilian kind of consent decree, the part of the police department that monitors what the police are supposed to be doing based on the new policies that were created that govern their actions now. From body cameras to body cameras on detectives to before we came, there were no body cameras at all on any of the police officers. Now every police officer has a body camera, right? So all of those things, helped us to remove ourselves from the consent decree, which means there was market improvement. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do, but it is definitely not where it was 10, 11 years ago, for sure.
Okay, so again, you're talking about like, although nothing is perfect, there's no perfection, right? People are like, oh, there are still murders in the city, but you're saying that it's the lowest it's been since what, you said 1954?
53, yes.
Since 1953? Wow.
Yep. For example,
right.
There were 112, 113 murders when I first took office last year. We ended with 31.
That's right.
Wow. Okay. Now, going back to that for a second, right? Because I think that when people are talking about national models for things, and I've said this a lot, and we've talked about this a lot. We've had Tracy Uri on our program a lot. We've had many people from dealing with the Office of Violence Prevention and things that happened before it was the Office of Violence Prevention. It may be one of Newark's best stories when it comes to that. What informed that happening from before you were in office to what it is now? Can you just give us a brief understanding of what that was so people can see
Well, I grew up in
that
Newark.
where did it start and where did it
Grew up
and how did
here.
it get to the
You know, we established something called Newark Anti-Violence Coalition. Used to go out in the community in the street and block the streets off and talk to the community. Specifically, we had a basic list of demands. The first one was violence, treating violence as public health. When we took office, we began to organize that ecosystem, to organize our agencies around violence as public health, the health department, the police department, everybody, began talking to the school system, began to set up community violence intervention organizations through Newark Community Street Team and other organizations that exist now, set up Office of Violence Prevention. Keisha Europe became the deputy mayor in charge of, policing as it relates to CBI, all of those things. And so we began to create this
because Keisha
ecosystem that has
Yuri
now become a national model.
because Keisha Yuri was an activist, right? She was an activist, a part of the organization that was not in government, but
Right.
was activists protesting. And so, and let me see if this is the story. It went from protests on the street to pushing different social service organizations
Right.
to recognize violence as a public health issue.
Well, the reason that people protest is so we can get things done. We're not protesting for the hell of it. So the reason that we protest is so we can make change. And if you have the authority to make the change, you should be making it, right? To the degree that you can. Doesn't mean you're never going to stop protesting, because there are larger and more powerful forces still at play here. But to the degree that you can make the change, you should be.
Okay. And so that went from activism to actual government. And many of the people who are activists started looking at those same policies that evolved through government, like the Office of Violence Prevention.
Right. Right. And so you have Chicago, Baltimore, Birmingham, all of these places, Memphis, all have come to Newark to learn from our model. They've been here multiple times, St. Louis, different places that have gone back to their cities and created models of their own. New York has just opened up their own version of the Office of Violence Prevention a couple of weeks ago. So these are things that are happening as it relates to the things that we've done in Newark, period. I also want to mention, while you're talking about this stuff, I want to mention the fact that we have the guaranteed income that we began to start with some early on mayors. Now there's over 100 mayors across the country that are doing guaranteed income. And now in New Jersey, State Assembly person Ravi Bala from Hoboken is sponsoring legislation on the state level to make statewide guaranteed income in the entire state of New Jersey, either by expanded earned income tax credits or child tax credits, but trying to figure out how we can do what we did in Newark for the entire state of New Jersey in perpetuity.
So there are the trial for a minimum basic income, right? That was piloted here. It's still going and expanding.
Well, we finished ours, and now we did a study and analysis on it. We are a part of the advocacy on a state level and in the national level as well, with over 100 mayors across the country. We were a part of the first 5 mayors in the country to establish this. And then after that, we did guaranteed education, where we took young people who had a 1.5 to 2.5 GPA, who were either victims of violence or their family was victims were victims of violence, and we put them in school. May 13th, I'm going to speak at the first cohort of graduation of about 33 young people that went through that program that are graduating from St. Elizabeth University because of the investment that we did with those young people who would have never been to college because of their GPA, because of the lack of resources, and probably because of the trauma that they ensued, that we were able to not only get them in school for free, but give them the counseling that they needed to finish the course at the same time.
I'm sorry, man. Did you say free?
Free. Like
Wow.
they pay absolutely nothing.
And that program is still going on. Who can qualify for that program?
people, anybody from Newark that that are associated with Office of Violence Prevention, that have been, them or their family members have been victims of violence, that might have a GPA that is about 2.5 or below, that there's a few criteria, and I would reach out to the Office of Violence Prevention to see what our next cohort is going to be, when we obviously raise the money for our next cohort. And the reality is, like I told young people last night, that the great thing about the success of this program is when people see folks graduating, it'll be easier for us to raise the dollars that we need to get the next cohort, the cohort after that, to be able to pull through. And the irony of it is that we have these programs and people come to the council meeting upset about the program that we have, where we putting Black and brown children through school for free who would have never had an opportunity. That's why it's not about the objectives of what we're doing. It's about the people's personal issues or the kind of ideological differences that folks have, or straight mercenary work that people are doing. But at the end of the day, these are real live opportunities for people in our city, young people in our city, who lives will never be the same because they came into contact with the Office of Violence Prevention.
Now, many people who see you around town have said, they've reported back, that they often see you like with a book. You are constantly reading. Do the ideas that you have for minimum basic income, from where the ideas for violence prevention and violence as a public health issue, is that a product of the stuff that you've read? And can you give us some of those examples of stuff you've read, and how did that translate into policy?
Well, yeah, that's part of it, but it's also experience. Like me growing up in Newark and understanding and talking to people in the city. I've been a community activist for a long time. I didn't just show up here at 40, I've been working in this city for a long, long time, and been active in this community for a long time. And so that informs in my relationships with people and talking to folks and understanding what they need. Even in my time as an educator, informs the work that we do every single day. But, there are books that talk about the necessity for guaranteed income. Martin Luther King and Why We Can't Wait, and other books talked about where do we go from here, talked about the need for a guaranteed income, right? So this idea is not a newer idea. This is very old. This concept that people should be getting a guaranteed level of money from the state before they even get employment and other kind of things, right? So yeah, I mean, that definitely is the old idea.
What are some of the misconceptions? Like, you're running for office, campaigns get heated, right? And I've heard you complain about a lot of misconceptions and a lot of negativity that is in this campaign. Can you use this time to clear up anything that you think needs to be cleared up for the voters as they go forward to the polls on Tuesday?
Well, the reality is, look, man, the work really is evident. And there's never going to be anybody in office that you completely agree with 100%. And there's never going to be anybody who you're satisfied with 100%. There are things, your car get blocked in by snow, you're going to be upset. You run into a pothole, you're going to be upset. Your garbage get missed one day, you're going to be upset. The reality is, we have very huge and large problems, the protracted issues that we've had in our city for decades, right? And some of these fundamental issues we've been tackling, whether it be the access to food, or the access to safety in our communities, or the access to education and opportunity, right? Or the access to jobs, or dwindling down the wealth gap in our city by making homeowners in our community, by advancing businesses, by pouring money into Black and brown businesses. That has never happened, right? I listen to people at the council meeting, complain about Black women who are getting an opportunity to build a 10, 11, 12-story building of affordable condos and retail at the bottom. When I grew up here, they were giving out properties 100 and 200 at a time to 4 and 5 developers that didn't look anything like us at $4 a square foot. I don't understand how we turned on each other to this capacity, or the hatred is so high. that we're angry because we are allowing black. If I could give all of the properties out to black and brown residents of our city, to working class people, so they could be able to earn and create wealth for their families, then damn it, I'm going to do that. And I don't care what the consequences of it is going to be. The reality is, the legacy we should be leading here is how to diminish the wealth gap, how to get opportunity into the hands of the people of this community. And it hasn't been this way for a long time. And I know that people's perspectives are different from mine because some of these people haven't been here as long as I have. And those who have been here as long as I, who pretend that things are not the way they are just straight out lying. Like this city has come a very, very, very long way. You know, I've been here, I know it. Right? So, you know, the what's happening here is definitely completely different than what was happening. Is there much more to do? 100,000%. I was on a panel yesterday. The young lady was saying, oh, we need to expand this, we need to expand that. But the point is, we never had them before. The fact that we have them means that the administration is courageous enough and deliberate enough to put these things into existence. Yes, we need to expand them. We need to get the capital. We need to convince the people to fight harder for these things on a state level and a federal level and other kind of things. But we are building things out with very little resources and getting the attention of so many people across the state and the country. You know, because the work that we're doing around housing, around homelessness, around police violence, around community violence, right? Around the access to food and opportunity, the things that we're doing. Look, in Essex County and the state of New Jersey, less than 1% of those resources go to black and brown communities. In Newark, we're at 15%. You know, in the next couple of years, we'll be at 30%. We're moving.
Wait, so time out. You said in the statewide, what percentage goes to black and brown people? And
less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
And at the county is less than 1/2 of 1%. We're at 15% in Newark, over 15%. And in the next couple of years, we'll be at 30%, right? So we're moving. We want to move faster than that, but we need collaboration and cooperation to be able to make these things happen as quickly as we can. And we need to seize power.
Just for that clarification, because I know that becomes a source of contention. You're saying that this going from the state amount of black and brown contracts, the county amount of black and brown contracts, and the city, you said the city is going to be upwards of 30%. How does that happen? How do you, like, what is the way that you're able to do that in Newark and they're not able to do that in the county and they're not able to do that in the state?
Well, I just think they're not looking at it. They're not deliberate, and we're being deliberate and intentional about it. Trying to make this happen. We're about to hire a person that's going to be specifically geared, focused on this, through every department, a person that will be on every department to make sure we double these numbers in a more rapid way. And we got to the numbers that we got at just by sheer will, like trying to deliberately identify businesses and begin to pull them in and give them opportunity to have either the principal on a contract or subcontracts. And we do it through the contractual way, not just, we don't do this affirmative action thing, though we have affirmative action in our office in City Hall. We do it contractually, like try to, through contracts, make people subcontract African-American, Latino, women-owned businesses, South Asian businesses in the city. But, even further than that, once we do that, we can begin to get them to certify themselves at the state, and we can pull them on directly as primes. We've been working through that through Invest North, right? And when we started, even with the lead service lines, we did tremendous work in making sure a lot of that work went to local businesses and black and brown businesses. I hear people saying none of the development, none of the stuff is going to people locally. That's just not true. It's just a lie. These are people that are uninformed, that get on Facebook and Instagram, that are telling people that are also uninformed about information that they have no knowledge of. Either they're misinformed or they're just putting out bad information purposefully. There are dozens of people who are benefiting, businesses who are benefiting, whether it's at the hospital construction, at the Port Authority construction, or any construction that goes up in this city, Black and brown businesses are benefited from it. We fighting with local unions to get them to bring more people through as apprentices. We started an apprentice program with Newark Public Schools to get more people in, but we've been struggling with them for a long time to get them to, and I think they're beginning to come around, and I'll guarantee after this election, they'll come around even more so after they're working hard to be disruptive, some of them. I'm talking about the building trades, for example. Not all of them, just a few, right? And some of them understand that they have to work with the city, because our basic contention is you need union jobs, and we want them to be union jobs. We want our people to have these union jobs. We just don't want them to be arbitrary, right? We want our folks to work on these sites, and we want them to get paid the same rate as union workers get paid. I am 100,000% pro-union. But if the union is going to get away in the way of me hiring Black and brown folks from our community, then we're going to have an automatic problem. So we have to figure that out and not let developers take advantage of us, and begin working together to make sure that there are more of us in the unions so we can get union pay. It doesn't make sense for us to get on the job and our folks are getting $20, and then when they hire the union, they're getting $60. We getting less money. So we're smart enough to know that they need to be unionized, but we need to be cooperative and collective enough to understand that we have to work together and not apart from one another.
Mayor Baraka, you wrote legislation, I believe in your first term, about housing, that there has to be a 20% set aside, if you will, for affordable, that standard, right, that standard. And can you speak to that? Because if I'm not mistaken, most of our urban cities have met the requirements for affordable housing. So you have purposely kind of stepped out of what the standard is and looked at the needs of the city. Can you correct me if I'm wrong?
Oh, yeah, you're right. We created something called an Equitable Growth Commission. And the Equitable Growth Commission did three things for us. They helped us expand rent control. That's number one. They set up the Office of Tenant Legal Services that allows us to give free legal services to people under a certain amount of threshold in terms of the money that their income. We're able, and we just expanded that so people who make a little bit more money can also get the free tenant legal services at the same time. And the third thing they did was create inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning, which says that 20% of everything that you build has to be affordable. That is based on the area median income. We were
freeze. He's on the roll.
All right, Mayor, we're not able to hear you. You're frozen. So we think that you're just in a bad spot. We weren't able to hear you, but we can hear you now. The last thing, whatever you said in the last 20 seconds, we didn't hear.
I said that
you stopped at number three.
Okay, number three, they set up inclusionary zoning, which says that 20%. Stop right here. 20% affordability have to be in every property that you develop. Many cities across the state are now adopting the 20% affordability. The state itself took that, and when you get state tax credits now to build, they require you to put 20% affordability in the property. Now we're having talks with the new governor about expanding that number even further, right, to a larger number, and putting more money in Affordable Housing Trust Fund and finding opportunities to invest in neighborhoods and not just properties themselves. So we're not just investing in property, one property, two property, three property, that we invested in whole neighborhoods with these tax credits, and requiring the affordability levels to go even deeper in some areas. Because in Newark, the affordability goes as low as 40%, which means that is a family that's making about $40,000 a year, right? But we needed to go as low as about $36,000 a year to capture many of the families that are left out of that. And anything below that is public housing, is what the federal government should be doing. But we know what their posture has been. They're moving away from that. So that's another fight that's going to put more pressure on us to create more housing and more transitional housing for folks that happen to become homeless because of federal guidelines that are being put in place.
And Mayor, can you just speak to that for a moment? Because I can remember ever since you've been coming on the show, AMI in New Jersey has always been an issue for you, because I remember you talking about, the issue that we were having in Newark was that, folks were clumping us in with the state as opposed to an independent AMI in the city of Newark. Can you just speak to that, Mayor, so that, we put that in the can once and for all? Because, I have those conversations with people who don't believe that was a conversation you were having 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's because they don't have any information. I mean, the thing that's the most dangerous thing next to climate change is bad information. And some people put out malinformation. They know it's bad, but they put it out anyway. The AMI is established by HUD, the federal government, not by anybody else. Federal government established these guidelines that which we go after. We go after those. We're trying to find a way to create AMI. That means area median income. The median income in the area you're in. So when we do the median income, they also include places like Livingston. They also include places like, places in East Orange and Orange. So where obviously income is a lot higher, the median income, drives that number up. So when we say affordability, is based on that median income. If we had a separate way of doing median income just in the city of Newark, those numbers would look a lot different than they look now. So the landlords are basing their affordability on the area median income that's established by HUD legally. We can't force them to go by another area median income unless that area median income is dropped, unless we say, we want you to go 30% or 20% below that. And when we do that, because the cost of building in New Jersey is so high, they need more subsidy, or we have to cut off the amount of profit that they're making. And most of them are not going to agree to do that. The only folks that would agree to do something like that are nonprofits. We have to get the capital in nonprofits' hands, or small and mid-sized Black and brown developers in our community who'll be developing a smaller number of units, not 300 units, but they'll be developing 10, 20, 30, 40 units, which makes that process longer and longer and longer. See, the problem is they think that what we're doing is just a will. When you're pushing forward, there's somebody pushing in the opposite direction. That's why it's called the struggle, right? That's why it's called the battle. We're not just pushing in one direction. There's an equal and opposite force pushing in the opposite direction. And the work that we're doing is against that, to push us in a way where we get momentum enough to run straight forward and begin to do the things that we want to do holistically. That's why people all over the state are fighting against affordable housing, right? And we are fighting for affordable housing, right? We're against the wave. We're not at the wave. And so we need as many people as we can to help us push in that direction. But we waste a lot of time with bad information, attacking each other, as opposed to formulating a strategy to build the way we need to build.
Well, listen, man, we're out of time, man. We want to say we appreciate you for taking time to come through. We know you're on the campaign trail, and things are hectic, but we want to say, man, we love you here, man, and
I appreciate it. Can I say one thing, brother? I'd like to say one thing that I ran for mayor when I was 24.
I remember.
I was 24 years old, man. And and there was a bunch of people in my daddy's basement, coming up with ideas and concepts and all kind of things. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's what young people are supposed to do. And we pushed out there. We pushed and we ran over and over and over and over again. And I had sharp disagreement with Sharp James. I had critical disagreements with Cory Booker. But I never made it personal. I never attacked them. I never tried to demean them, demoralize them, or do anything like that. Because our struggle always has to be principled. I learned that growing up in my household, that we had to have principle to struggle, and principle debate, and principle fight, because the way you struggle is how you govern, is how you lead. And because we don't want to be the very people that have put us in this situation that we're in now, that the way we struggle has to be markedly different than the way Donald Trump struggles or the way all these other people struggle. That we have to struggle in a way that we unite our people and put contradictions in front of the folks and let people weigh the dirty glass and the clean glass. Or as Mal used to say, that 100,000 flowers blossom or bloom. Let your ideas contend so that people can pick the best ideas and the best way forward. And that's what we should be doing.
That's right.
Well, Mayor, before you leave, you know, one of my poems that I like for serving is called The Man in the Arena. So while you're preparing these next couple of days, what are you going to be listening to, sir?
Well, in terms of music?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I listen every day. I try to get a little Nina Simone in, little Curtis Mayfield in. You know, I listen to a couple of gospel hits at the same time, but my go-to is always Nina, Mahalia, and Curtis all day. And if I get too down, I'm gonna throw some John Coltrane in there.
It's the centennial of John Coltrane.
That's right.
Wait. Where's Public Enemy at?
Oh yeah, I get the Public Enemy, when I'm in my basement when I'm working out. When I gotta attack, when I gotta go hard, ain't nothing like Nina and John Coltrane, brother.
Wow. Okay.
That gets to the soul of it.
and you know what, Nina? I was listening to Nina Simone today, and she said there has never been a time that I wasn't non-violent. She said I've always been violent. I was listening to her today.
I know that's right.
All right.
Well, listen,
ain't nothing like Mississippi, goddamn.
That's right.
Well, listen, man, thanks a lot, man.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, so that was Mayor the Honorable Mayor Raz J. Baraka that was on running for election, and great to have him on. Again, we believe in civic discourse. We have had other mayoral candidates on as well, and we are a space that is open for people to come and get their ideas out. So thank you. So we are waiting for our next candidate to jump on. And as we're waiting for our next candidate to jump on, let's talk more about what's going to be happening in our 8 o'clock hour. And that's when we're going to be jumping up into the Voting Rights Act. And we're going to start getting into that a lot more. So, Donna,
I was listening earlier when Zaid was talking, and when Zaid and Ned was talking before you jumped on, and you were talking about Justice Alito coming from Jersey and and Justice Roberts and their intentions in terms of the Voting Rights Act. But I wanted to know, I know I had sent out about the person who was the author of Project 2025. And did we realize the background of the author of Project 2025? Sure. In terms of being an African major in his master's, he studied Africana studies, and his PhD and his dissertation that he wrote and everything. Were we all aware of that?
Share it. Don't ask.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and just listening.
So go ahead and share it.
Well, in terms of listening to the discussion that the person who is the author of Project 2025, and many people study Africana studies, so that's not the issue, and everybody should. But how it was used, how this person, the author, used it in a way to study us and to use our history against us. And I just thought, my goodness, I don't know, it's just horrible on so many different levels and diabolical. And I just wanted to see, when you heard this, what were some of the thoughts that you thought about? Is it nothing new to you, or were you not surprised? What?
I will answer that dialectically, and that's the language of struggle that the mayor was alluding to when he said in his last remarks that there's when somebody is going this way, there's somebody else coming the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the state and the people who want to see themselves as the permanent overseers of our reality study our reality intimately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not at all a surprise, right? We need to be more studious of not just our reality, and this is something that Dr. John Henry Clark used to say too. Never allowed himself to be called an Africana studies professor or a Black studies professor. He established himself, I am a world historian.
Okay.
Because he wanted to study their stuff so well so we can come up with the kind of strategies to undo the harm of their systematic harm that they've done to us.
Mm-hmm.
Vice versa, they are studying our stuff so well. And remember too, you know, whenever we've had any kind of meaningful movements, there's always been intense surveillance and interference of the police state apparatus of our struggle and our history that dwarfs anything we've created. We love our Schomburg Center, special place. We love, you know, repositories for the documentation of our history, some of our HBCUs, where some of those places are located. But if you want to CIA space, FBI space, National Security Agent space, Heritage Foundation. Those are the collective authors of Project 25. They study our stuff intimately in order to figure out how to put our behinds back in the place that they want us.
Yeah, and he is a part of the Heritage Foundation. And as Professor Principal Caffelli just said, he just said that people study us intimately and set up businesses in our communities. And I can remember
that's right.
Yeah, learning about in Asia, when you see all of these Chinese restaurants, and particularly how there are like schools, if you will, for they can study how to sell in our communities. So yeah, but yeah, because I think that, you know, when I took Africa Studies at Essex County College under Dr. Gunther, I know studying it made me I don't know the word I want to use, more I can't think of the word right now, but it definitely left me, say that again,
Aware?
Definitely aware, but there's a deeper word that I want to use, that it, like for instance, I won't miss an election day knowing what my ancestors went through so that I could vote. And so, you know, so I guess it's very intentional. So I guess that
there you go.
So when I see that somebody studies our history to use it against us, I guess that's where I become like, wow, when you study a people that's so resilient, a people that has contributed so much, a people that from whence we owe so much to, that why be so diabolical and not want to continue this greatness on, you know, and hatred. Say that again. I'm sorry.
It's in your question. The people who we owe so much to. That's the ultimate conversation that your friend, the white man, don't want to have, and that's called reparations.
Okay.
Right. Because if we did that right, not just to compensate a legacy of horrible genocidal institutional harm, but to make it impossible for that to happen anywhere else in the world, you know,
or is it just so much?
They are comfortable.
Yeah, definitely comfortable, but is it them facing their own demons as well? I guess
people sick and they don't care. They don't care. That's what white supremacy is. We are the other. We are the less than. We are ultimately, in their eyes, deep and in their psyche, inferior, not deserving of the same kind of humanity that they have. Of course,
well, I don't know if it's human, because what we also know is that for everything that we have fought for in this country, it has not only uplifted us, it has uplifted everybody else. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you talking about this clown named Kevin Roberts? Is that the one you talking about?
Yes, that's who I'm talking about.
There's a few of them in that mix, but he's the one that's been lifted up lately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you would love the article. You know, I mentioned this to Ed at the earlier part of our conversation. And who was the next guest? Are we missing Dude? Isn't Dude supposed to be on? Anyway,
yeah, Jonathan went to get him. I guess.
Yeah. He doesn't get on enough.
Yeah. We're trying to get him back on. I don't know what must have happened, but we thought we had him on at 7. So we're waiting to hear from them. And Donna, your guest is coming on at 7:20.
Yes, and she may be a little delayed, but she will be in because she was out walking. Okay. Yes.
So I was going to say, if she's on early, if you want to get her on early, we can get her on early, and just push the other interview back, because she's supposed to be starting in about 6 minutes anyway. And we also have another guest coming on at 7:40.
Yeah. So you can keep talking. I mean, I kind of took you away from the Voting Rights Act, but it was one of the things
it's very similar. They're related, right?
No, definitely.
and the reason why they are related is because, and again, no one should be surprised by that, because always, like, they always, I mean, that's the history of white supremacy. You study the people that you're trying to break apart. And that has always been the case. That is why they're able to do disinformation. That is why the CIA was able to surveil us in the way that they were. They had some of the most repository of Black literature was in the federal government to basically learn us, understand us. When the FBI said they were trying to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah, that wasn't from ignorance, right? That wasn't from stupidity. That was from looking at studying patterns. So that when they saw Fred Hampton and they saw what Fred Hampton could do,
leadership of our ancestors who led slave uprisings,
right? And so that
people
studying,
like Fred Hampton, to Jonathan's point,
right? The studying us is a natural course of things. I noticed this in the strategy of the first and second Trump administrations, and that they're really, like, Trump may not be thoughtful, but the people behind Trump are. The people behind him are very studied. That's why when people are like, oh, it's just Trump, I was like, no, this has actually been going on since the civil rights movement. I think that many of the forces of white supremacy thought that they got a huge defeat. I think that when Obama was elected the second time and did so without the majority of white supporters, right? Like he had a lot of, clearly he had overwhelming numbers of white people supporting him, but demographically, I believe it was not 60% of white people supporting him. I think it was closer to 40 something, low 40s of white people supporting him, and high 90s and 80s and 70s of everyone else. And in that case, that freaked out a lot of people, right? Like they were like, how did he win? And then people start talking about the demographic shifts. People start talking about like white genocide. People start talking about replacement theory. And these things are used to get poor white people to get excited to help the rich white people who don't care maintain power, right? Like it is the way it's been. So there's nothing new about that level of study. You notice this in the way in which they actively, I mean, they study Black people and our patterns, they study white people and their patterns, and they clearly study where Black people are able to amass wealth, which is why the government jobs in terms of working for the federal government was attacked in the way it was, and why Black women specifically were targeted, why higher education specifically was targeted, if we look at the way in which Black people got to upward mobility, often has been through education, and with Black women specifically being highly educated, getting jobs in the public sector that were stable jobs that had great benefits and great retirement packages. We have an entire generation of Black people who are retiring and using the positive retirement packages they got from, and great health insurance, all these access to things from the federal government. Those
That
things
barely exists now.
And yeah, and the post
Right,
office
those things,
being one of the biggest. Yeah, the post office.
right.
Yeah.
And so when they're going after those things, it is not a coincidence. Welcome, Councilman Duprè Kelly of the West Ward. Welcome to All Politics
The
are Local.
sword is the best sword.
Man, I'm super excited, and I want to apologize for my tardiness, but it's been just Tuesday can't come fast enough.
You're supposed to be busy.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
crazy, man.
absolutely.
But I, you know what, I felt bad because I hate to feel busy for y'all, man. You know, like I don't want to ever feel busy for the people who's always gave me words of encouragement and, you know, just been in the corner. And I don't want to say in the corner like whether they voted for me or not, but you've always gave me a platform. I don't never want to feel too busy for those people, you know. And I started to feel like that when John reaching out. I'm like damn, I'm really busy, and I don't want to tell him like, you know, usually I'll be like, John, I'm gonna make it wait, I'm right on, and I didn't have that space, man. So what do you do when you don't, when you sort of can't find the gap anymore? Like that's what makes me nervous sometimes, man. Okay. It's a good thing.
Well, we know you on a campaign trail, but before we start, we know that you had an addition to your family, so this is a busy weekend as well as campaigning as well. But this is a Mother's Day weekend for you, and so congratulations again.
Thank you so much. You know, I absolutely just love being a husband. I just absolutely love being a father. I just absolutely love it, man. And I guess that those gaps that I used to be able to find are now filled with them.
Okay. No, that is real, right? Like as someone who is I recently got married, and that changes things, right?
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah.
Thank
you. It changes things, right? Like so man. Family, right? So let's jump right into it though. You are running for re-election for the West Ward councilperson. What are you most proud of what you've done? Like what have you done to make a difference in 4 years that you're most proud of? And what can we expect if you are reelected?
So what I am most proud of, John, is I am proud of that the day one that I entered into being the sitting councilman for the West Ward, and the day that we are running for re-election, it does not look the same. Those 2 days and every dash and in between looks totally different. And I play a part in that. I got to govern where I grew, and I didn't just sit on my butt. Like we have receipts. Look at the corridors now. You can look up and down South Orange Avenue. When they said that I wouldn't be able to negotiate with businessmen and developers and those that came to the table and do business on behalf of the city, advocate and lobby on behalf of the city, we've done that. They said I was a rapper. Yes, I am a rapper, but I showed them what hip hop looks like being grown up. And I mentioned that before, but it's one thing about talking about it. You know, you can talk about your best abilities, but the most famous and best ability that I've learned is accountability. And I'm able to account for the things that I have done in this ward. Am I perfect? Not by far. Do people call and curse me out? Yes, because what I've learned is that the constituents just want to feel connected. They just want to feel like they have a relationship. They want to feel like they have access to you, even if you can't get to their problems right away. And I've learned that you know, Ron Rice also told me, try to reach out to the people. If they call you, you call them back. So a lot of people have my real phone number. It drives my wife crazy because I get phone calls at 5:30 in the morning or 9 in the morning. But what that has shown me though, what that has shown me by giving them access is family has shown me that you have to take the pause, right? You have to pause for your family. You have to pause. And if the people don't love that, they don't really want you to be there for them anyway. Because if you can't be there for the loved ones and the people that's in your life for real, then you'll never be able to show up for a community. You'll never be able to show up for a resident. You'll never be able to show up for a person that is really in need. So I've learned to take the pauses. And with those pauses come clarity. And clarity brings great decision making or good decision making. And I feel like I have been doing that on behalf of the West Ward. I have the receipts to say it, right? When I first came into this, I gave a plan. I didn't know what to do. I'll tell you this. No one knows about being councilman until they are councilman or councilwoman, right? You can say all of the great things you will do. You can give all of the great plans, but they have to, your vision has to be backed by actions, right? It has to show visionable actionary things once you get in there. And I feel like I've done that. I know that I've done that. I'm gonna take the feel out because we have the receipts. When I first came in, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I drive down South Orange Avenue, and I do see a lot of different developments. I see apartment buildings, and I'm talking about just driving down South Orange Avenue. Me and you both grew up in the West Ward.
Corridor.
Right, and me and you both grew up in the West Ward. I grew up on West End Avenue. I grew up right off South Orange Avenue. So whenever I go down that street, I'm always like, oh, that's where I grew up, right? How did that happen? Like just the stuff that I'm seeing in down South Orange Avenue. What do you do as council person to help make that happen? Can you tell us some stories? Can you tell us, is it just policy or is it relationships? How is it done?
It's a little bit of both, right? There's a process. So the process takes a wanting to be developer or a current developer. It takes them through the economic development office of process. I don't necessarily negotiate the deals, but when they come to me, I have to approve of those deals. And if those approvals, in order to get my approvals, there have to be things that are on the table for the people of that community. We're not just throwing up brick and mortar. Let me give you an example. There was can't say it that way. I'm trying to give it a way that doesn't make me look crazy. But there is a developer who wanted to build actually where I grew up on 20th Street. I used to live right around the corner, 20th Street and South Orange Avenue, up the block from South Orange Avenue. They wanted to build. And I asked them about how will they involve the community. I told them, I said that there's a beautiful block association around here, and this certain lady, we'll call her Miss A. Miss A lives here, and she does these community meetings that benefits the entire block. She does this, she does that. How are we going to include her in this bill? Oh, I don't have to include her. Oh, you're right. You don't have to include her, but I don't have to accept this. And that building is not being built now. Because if you can't include my people, if you can't include our people from the West Ward, then we know that you will be a future slumlord that will make the worst landlords list. We know that you will make that list because you're not including us even before you even start. So I get to make those type of decisions. I get to make the decisions that I get from the people. I get from the community meetings. What do you want to see here? How are you involved in the community? We don't want to disrupt what's happening in the community. We want to see it grow. We want to see it become better. And the people that are coming into the community, if they're not bettering their best or making life better in that community, then we're not going to vote on it. We're not going to allow it. And then beyond that too, John, like I have to fight for the West Ward so that you bring certain things here. I have meetings with deputy mayors and administrations and people of telling them what I want to see in our community, in our ward. I tell them.
And what are some of those things? Like what are some of the things that you have actually that got to the West Ward? Again, I go down South Orange Avenue. I see a lot of stuff, right? I see a lot of new buildings. I see a lot of apartment buildings being built. I see like clearly there are a lot of small houses, right? That are being redone, right? So what have you brought to the West Ward? Talk to me.
Well, what I've brought to the West Ward, I've brought economic development to the West Ward. I've brought safety, public safety to the West Ward. I've brought youth initiatives to the West Ward. I've brought women minority developers who actually teach how to become a developer to the West Ward. I've brought youth initiatives that connected seniors to youth. Initiatives like Bridging the Gap, where we gave away laptops to all of our seniors, and then we had the youth bring those laptops to them to show them how to work it. Okay, why do you do that? We do that so that the seniors can share their wisdom. They can learn, but they share their wisdom with the young people. It bridges the gap so that they talk to the young people, they encourage the young people, they educate the young people. At the same time, they're getting the education of how to utilize our technology. I brought financial literacy to the West Ward, to our youth and to our seniors. Some of our seniors are they're growing out from their homes. They no longer can control their homes, meaning they're just living in one room. They're not going up and down the stairs. They don't have any family. So we've dealt with real estate issues and teaching them how to survive, whether they want to go into a senior building, whether they wanted to sell their homes so that they won't get robbed. But then we're bringing renters to owners in the West Ward. Of some of these young people, they don't want to be owners. So what does that look like? How do we turn these renters into owners, and how do we make these young people know that real estate is a viable way of becoming wealthy, passing wealth down to your families? We've helped families in need. How do you get families who are not surviving under this area median income, right? They only making a certain amount of dollars, but they need a 3-bedroom apartment. We've advocated for them, and not just advocate for them, but we tell them and teach them financial literacy so that you can sustain after the help. It's not just about giving a handout, but it's about giving a hand. So we've done so many different things like that. Those things that I've mentioned in my West Ward revitalization plan, when it comes to public safety, when it comes to seniors, when it comes to youth, when it comes to economic development and dealing with real estate, those things that I said that I wanted to do, man, if you look back, and it's still on DupreKelly.com, the original West Ward plan, if you look at that, we have accomplished probably 85% to 90% of those things. And that's how I measure the success of the things that I said that I was going to do, the things that I have done, the things that I have to do better, and the things that we can look forward to. One of the great things that we are doing that I said, now that I can talk about it, is that we will be rebuilding Boylan Street Recreational Center in 4 phases. We are already on the first phase, and it's a little ambitious, but we are doing it. And the mayor said, man, you ambitious. And I said, that's right, because I believe we can do it. As long as I have the residents behind me and saying what they want, then we're going to do it.
I actually learned how to swim.
Actually
learned how to swim in Boylan Street Pool.
Hey, man, who didn't?
Yeah.
I got thrown in that pool a lot, where if I didn't know how to swim, I learned that day.
But that's why I spend a lot of summer nights hanging out in front of Boylan Street Pool. We all got memories
right.
there.
But wait till you see what we're about to do with Boylan Street Pool now. I'm super excited because it's a transformative project.
Talk to us. What is there about? Because that's a major community center. And so what is it right now, and what is it going to come? What's happening with it?
Right now, it's a building that was built probably in the late 50s, early 60s. It's shaped like a L. The functionality of it is not that great anymore. It's just surpassed what it was intended for before. And now we are utilizing the space, the square footage of it. We're building up. We're going rooftop. We're going educational. We're going technology. We're going cultural arts. We're going food arts. We're going we have been in talks with NPS to tear down Boylan Street School behind it and make it a football track and stadium for Westside High School. Like, these are the plans that are coming so Westside can have a home. It's just so many great things that are going on that we are in process of. So I just can't wait, man. I just can't wait to finish some of those things and continuing moving forward. I know everybody thinks that is just the slogan of our team, but we're talking about continuing moving forward and continue to do the things that we have started. And I will say, man, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy. And just to be transparent with you, John, I feel like I didn't get a grasp of what's really going on to about a year and a half, almost 2 years in. So I feel like I've really only been councilman with the understanding and the confidence of comprehending what really is going on to about 2 years in. So I'm only a 2-year sitting councilman to me, and we can't afford to go backwards.
Okay, now I was going to ask one more, like in the series of questions that we have, and that is the unity question that I've been bringing to all of the people who are running for council. This is a few years back. We had an incident, a series of incidents at Global Studies, one of the high schools in Newark, and it brought up like rifts between Blacks and Latinos. People thought that rift might have been wider. What is your perception of race relations within the city, and what would you do to unify the city?
Well, I think this city runs because of many diversities in this city. I think one of the core things that run our city is Black and Latino. You know, we have a lot of Black and Latinos that are moving about in every single ward. We might not always agree, and I think that the disagreement comes from cultural, you know, the cultural binds that actually divide us sometimes. It's not just that we disagree. Sometimes we might want the same destination. We just have different routes of getting there. And I think where the divide comes is we don't discuss the way to get there. We talk about the destination and that we all want to get there, but we don't talk about our way to get there. So I think that as long as we start to talk and have conversations, through those conversations, we start to comprehend things differently. We start to comprehend things that actually our difference are more similar than different. So we start to understand each other better. When you understand the language, you understand the culture, and that's what I'm saying. When you understand each one's culture, you can speak the language to each other better. And Black and Latino in this city, that's all it is. It's just a divide because we don't understand each other's culture a lot of times. Yeah, we all want crime to be reduced, but how do we get about it? How do we get there? You know, how do we go about it? Sometimes, you know, somebody might say, let's have dinner and bring some plantains. And the other one might say, you know what, let's have dinner, but we're going to bring some mac and cheese. Whatever it is, as long as we have the dinner to talk about the situations and the issues, then we can bring forth real change. And I believe that we have done that this time. I think there is no secret that myself and Quintana last time were at odds. I was at odds because I thought maybe he's too old to be doing this. Remember, I'm just trying to get in, and he's looking at me like he's too young. He doesn't know what we're doing. And after a conversation and sitting down with him while on the council and talking about some of the things that we might have differed on and voted different on or voted the same for, we had conversations before. It made me understand him a little better, and I made him understand me a little better. That's why we're a team to this day. A lot of times, man, I disagree with my brother or my mother, but that doesn't make them less family. That doesn't make them not my blood. And once we can get to those differences, if you can get through differences with somebody that you are cool with, then your friendship is on an uptick. Definitely. And I believe that that's what this unity deserves. It deserves the leadership coming together, understanding, even if we don't always agree, because we are really headed toward the same destination, and that's being proud of Newark.
Well, I just want to say, dude, that you don't sound like a dude, you know, with all the stuff you take at the council meeting, man. You still sound like, you know, you got real high energy, and you know, it's the job you signed up for, right? I can remember having meetings with you, man, me and John, you know, in the early days, and it's the job you wanted, man. So, and I'm looking at some of the comments from some of the people, you know, and people are saying they really like your energy, man. You're the kind of councilman that they want. Hey, dude, I'm proud of you, man. I think you're doing a hell of a job. I think you take all the criticism well. I also think you get in the mix, man, and the fact that, you know, you transparent, and the fact that you touchable, right? I think that makes, you know, all the difference in the world, particularly in a community like the South, like the West Ward, and you know, and those things are important because you can remember when you were a young man and what that meant to have access to Ron Rice, right?
Yes.
And so take that kind of example and just live it out, man. You know what I mean? And since you only felt like the councilman for 2 years, you got a lot of energy, brother.
Yeah, man.
So,
you know what, Ed, man? I appreciate you saying that. I want to just say this real quick. I think like how I take all of the criticism, why I take all of the criticism. The councilman of the West Ward, being a council member in Newark, New Jersey, I thought my patience was good just being in hip hop. My patience has become masterful level by being in the city of Newark, right? And that's not a disrespect to our residents because that's democracy. They can say what they want, how they want. I just ask that they not be disrespectful, you know, by going beyond the lines, but sometimes they will. But what keeps me abreast, I always remind myself, dude, if this was a boxing match and you were a boxer and you got in the ring, would you complain about being punched on? Would you complain about having punches thrown at you? Would you complain even if you got a black eye? Or would you block more? Would you improve your footwork? And would you throw the hardest punches ever and stand on business? And I choose to throw the hardest punches ever and stand on business because I'm going to punch back, and I'm going to punch back with the work.
There it is.
All right. And I know that you have to go, but thank you so much. And
but before you go,
tell well, two things. Donna's question and what is your number and what is your ballot position?
Okay, so my question, and you can say in your answer to my question is, as you prepare from here until May 12th, what are you listening to? Keep the faith, baby.
Donna's so dope, man. You know what? I like to hear people. I'm an artist, right? So I like to hear people's growth. I don't know, you know, if you know of Griselda and them, they talk about where they came from, May Street in Buffalo, and how they were involved in drug activity and stuff like that, right? And that's not a good thing to be involved in that. But when you listen to them now, you hear the growth. You hear them talking about that they never should have been a part of that they never wanted to be a part of that how they want to utilize how they messed up the streets to change the streets. I'm listening to stuff that talks about redemption and growth. And a lot of times that comes from some of our hardest hip hoppers, some of our hardest R&B guys. So I'm listening to them right now. I'm listening to Black Thought from the Roots, and I'm listening to Doitall. I've been recording on those late nights, you know, and Big Shades. I'm listening to people who come from that thing, but they are growing. I love to see a person who was this, but now they are this. And that's just part of my purpose, man, is to help people grow. I used to think, I had a conversation today, man. I used to think that there was a such thing as losing and winning. But after today, after a conversation with a good friend of mine, I don't think that there is any losing or any winning, right? Because when you lose, if you have the right mindset, you grow and you go harder because of the loss. And when you win, you do it from growth anyway. And you don't want to lose again, so you grow to continue to be better. So losing and winning for me today is growth. I just want to keep growing. My mindset is just totally changing. I want to grow so that when my son sees me as an adult, when my children see me as an adult, they look at me and they always want to say, and my wife, I want her to look at me every day and say, I am married to a man who continues to grow. And I want my son to look at me. You know, I love when my son looks at me putting on a tie. You know, my son, my 9-year-old son, when he's about to be 10, you know, they had career day at school. And he said, I want to wear a suit. And I said, okay, well, what are you going as? He said, well, when I put the pin on my lapel and I put a Newark hat on, I'm going as the councilman, the West Ward councilman. I almost brought a tear to my eye, man, because you never know who's looking. You never know who's looking, man. Right. So you always got to better your best and be the best that you can be, because everybody is watching. Even if you don't want them to see it, they're watching.
That's right. Hey, dude, we proud of you, man. You know.
Thank you, man. I love y'all, man, for real.
Hey, man, we love you, man. I think you know that go without saying, brother. You know
yes, sir. I do, man.
Definitely love you back. And what is your ballot position again?
My ballot is the bomb. My ballot is the bomb. C4.
Put your hat down. Put your hat down.
Hey, I'm gonna pull it back.
No, you got
my ballot is C4, man. C4. Vote Duprè Kelly, man. And look how things are lined up. The last time I won, my ballot was C4.
Wow.
Okay.
You know, and we C4 again.
Yeah.
All right, just tell everybody to keep the faith, baby, and do what they did before then.
The faith, man. Right. May 12th, we get the chance to put somebody in office, to continue to move forward, to re-elect somebody to office in the West Ward who was born there, raised there, and is excited about the new things happening in the West Ward, because I was there when they weren't there. And I'll tell you this, win, lose, or draw, the West Ward is not the same than when I first stepped in it. It is better.
Believe that.
So C4, Tuesday, May 12th, Councilman Duprè Kelly and the entire team Baraka.
Do that.
Hey, take care, man.
Happy Mother's Day to the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers in everybody's live. Happy Mother's Day, Donna. I love y'all, man. C4, Tuesday, May 12th, West Ward, the best ward, Team Baraka. Let's continue to go.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
He said he bad as round. Well, you should have Lynn is in the background.
Right, but
okay.
Nadirah scheduled to be here, so we're gonna not keep her because she was early.
Actually,
okay. for this one, so we're gonna have her on first, and this is like the scheduled time.
All right, Lynn, hold on. I know you're back there. Hold on, Lynn.
All right. So, Nadirah Brown, you are running for at-large councilperson. Welcome to All Politics Are Local. Now, is this your first time running for council?
This is my first time running for council, yes. 2021, I ran for school board, and that's where I had the pleasure of meeting you. Yes.
Okay, right, because I know I've interviewed you before, and I knew it was an election context, but you ran for school board before. So welcome back to All Politics Are Local. So we're going to just jump right in. The question about your biography. What is there about your biography that makes you great for the Councilperson-At-Large for the city of Newark?
I'm a resident. I have a voice, and I'm not afraid to speak up. I've attended Rutgers. I'm a graduate of Douglas College. I've actually been working in social services for over 20 years with the community. I started out with the city and moved on with the county. The past 3 years, I have been going to the council meetings, bringing up the concerns of myself and many constituents. And that's how I arrived today. Many people don't have the ability to speak up. A lot of people may have concerns, but that's something that I've noticed, that everyone doesn't have the privilege to be able to stand in front of someone to bring their concerns. It's not always easy. I'm sorry, the screen had went out over here. I just wanted to say, being in the back, I loved all the energy. And then when I came on, it was like, everybody's like, hey, hi. I just want to say thank you for having me here today. When I was here in 21, when I say this platform made sure the viewers knew and understood what a person was about, I really thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you. The energy just changed.
Oh no, thank you. That's because we're like some of the other guests we know from
yes,
way
you can
back. We've
tell.
had
You
lots of
can tell.
interaction with. Like, you know, we always say that, you know, there's some people we know a lot better than others, but we try to treat everybody fairly, right?
No,
So,
and I know that, but I just was back then. I'm laughing, and I was like, wow. And then when I came on, everybody's like, okay. But no, it's great, and I thank you. And I
no, we started up quiet so we can hear you. We don't want to take your thunder.
You're like, this is your show.
Listen, when I tell you, it's a privilege to be on, because I was waiting and I said, well, maybe they're booked. When I say I was so happy this morning, like, yes, because it's not easy. And I thank you for taking out the time to bring awareness to the viewers, because everyone can't even do that. Also, that's a skill in itself as well. So thank you for today. But I want to say that being a voice, you know, I've been criticized that, oh, you're an advocate. You're an advocate. Yes, I am. I didn't wake up just to say I'll be an advocate. But when you're an advocate and you're speaking up for others, you're trying to get some resolution to things, you have to take out the time to do the research, because you just can't go get a resolution because of what somebody told you. You get the feedback, you listen, and then you do the research and find out who you have to talk to in order to get things done. And that's why I feel I will be great, because one, in order to lead the people, you need to engage with them. If you're not going to engage with them, how are you going to know how to lead them? Because being a leader, I represent one group. I represent the individuals that come home, go to work, don't do anything else. Not quite the senior, I'm not quite the youth, but yet I still have to find out what others are going through in order to lead. We're not going to be able to help everyone, but try to help the majority. And that's part of the reason, another reason why I'm in this, because going to the council meetings is supposed to be the hearing of the citizens, but I just don't think they're hearing us. And part of being a council person, you're supposed to follow up, give feedback, give an answer. Even if you don't have a solution, acknowledge that I came to you about something. And that's the main reason why that I'm running.
Okay, now, Jay Coulter just said that you are a parent warrior. What does it mean by that?
I'm not really sure, but I am a parent. I do. My daughter, about to be a senior next year. Y'all don't understand. I did this late. Like, most of my friends are already grandparents and everything. And when I tell you it's been a blessing, I wasn't sure if I'd be a mom, but when I tell you anything that comes up for my daughter knows, she tells me, Mommy, sometimes you fight too much. It's not about a fight. I just want her to understand there's some things we cannot just accept. There are some things that you have to really get a solution to. Just don't accept it. And through the challenges that I've had through the years with my daughter, you as a parent want to make sure your child does better than you. And you want to make sure they have all the opportunities that you didn't have or even had. You just want to make sure their life is great. And for me, I'm always speaking up. I go also not just to municipal council meetings. I go to the school board meetings. I've also go to the commissioner county meetings. I've also spoken to our assembly and our senators. So where there's a need, that I'm there. And unfortunately, I'm an advocate for communication. Our community is not being open to being in these places, and we need to be. We really need to bring our concerns to the table, and that's another reason why I want to run, because we need to have better relationships with other elected officials. Because yes, the municipal level is where this council would be, but we also have to have other relationships with our assembly, our senators, because legislation needs to be created that affects our city as well.
So, Nadirah, I'm going to tell you, change that to fortunately. That's very good. Communication at all levels is very important. And I think you, because I was getting ready to ask you that question, how would you take the needs of Newarkers beyond the borders of Newark, and that's how you would do it. So thank you for
Mhm.
saying that. So I think I heard you say that you think that there was a void, that when you go to the council meeting, people are talking, but you don't
Yes.
believe people are being heard.
Yes.
So if elected, what would you do different to make sure that people are heard?
Well, one, and this is a suggestion that I've already given to the council, let's have town hall meetings, because you only get to 5 minutes when you're in front of the council. It's a long day, it's a meeting, they're taking notes. I would expect feedback, but most of the time it's not. Let's have a meeting in another presence, another atmosphere, because I notice sometimes when you meet outside of that room, the atmosphere is different, the dialogue is different. And also have a meeting that doesn't have an agenda already in place. Let the people bring their concerns. The last couple of meetings that we've had where City Hall came, they were already forced topics. And a lot of times people want to be able to bring their concerns. And everyone does not even know about the council meetings. And that's another thing with the communication. We only have 25 slots. Now imagine you have 5 wards. Look at how many residents we have. And we only allow only 25 people to speak. And a lot of times many don't show up. So I would like to change the sign-up process, because sometimes things come up, but be able to sign up before the meeting so everyone gets a chance to speak.
Okay. All right. So going to the next part, right? Like of the questioning, where we ask you about policies, right? Like,
Yes.
what are the policies that you really like in terms of what's going on now? What is it that you would do to introduce to change the problems that you see right now? You can deal with any of those that you like.
Okay. Now, the thing is, I had to learn that we have a lot of policies on the books, but it seems like nothing is really being introduced or referred to. Because if you look at our council meetings, everything is just tax abatement, development. We're not even talking about the committees or other things that's going on. But one thing I would look into is our parking. I would like to change that ordinance about the special events, due to the fact that the special events is supposed to include things, events such as Prudential, Symphony Hall, things of entertainment. Unfortunately, for council meetings, individuals do not have anywhere to park. So if you park there, you're getting a ticket. And I also want to think about our residents. I understand that, parking, municipal rules, that helps bring in revenue for our city. That's one way. But think about that parent who just took all their money to buy a ticket. Now they have to go inside, they have to buy the expensive food. After that, buying that expensive ticket, everyone can't afford to park in the parking lots. Only a few spots are there. Why change it and bring hardship? It seems like the meters, these are things that are lower, I won't say lower class, but that is something that we need to think about, because even with the meters, every meter is not the same, and that needs to be looked into. The meters by the library is only an hour. Someone is going to the library to learn. You have records school also. But why around the corner the meters are 3 hours? Why by social services? Why do we have all these meters? I feel like that needs to be evaluated. And also the value of the quarter. I understand it's bringing money in, but at the same time, let's not bring hardship where individuals will get a ticket. Now they get a ticket, they can't pay the ticket, lose their license. Need to look at that. And then also I want to look into policies with housing, as far as there's been a big topic of inhabitability going on. I would like to put in place, or maybe learn, because it might already be in place. What is the policy when code enforcement comes out? What is the protocol? What is the policy and procedures that once they deem a place inhabitable, what is the next step? Because as found out with some residents, once the report is done, there's no more communication. Yes, they take the landlord to court on their end, but what happens with the tenant? Who's responsible for the next steps? And that's where it's become a big, big situation where we have too many properties that are inhabitable, and yet we have an ordinance where it says landlords are supposed to register, So why are we creating a landlord list if we're supposed to already have in place registered landlords and also communicate how does the landlord get graded? So I think we have a lot in place, but we just need to enforce it and actually review it too. Thank you. I can't. Is it me?
Oh, it's me.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
he's muted.
Okay. No, let me tell you.
So
The
whenever
other
whenever I
night,
get on, I am
no,
always forgetting to turn my mic back on,
well,
and that is what happened there. See, so my mouth moving, and it was like
I was like,
everybody else was
wait.
like, "No, it was just."
No, the other night I was on this platform and it was quite a few people and I kept getting kicked out. So I was like, oh no, please don't kick me out. I said, at least the other group was familiar with me. I do like to answer questions, but it kept freezing. So now I was like, oh, please don't. I'm like, this
Oh
is a
no,
new
no,
group. I
it is
do
a
know one person on here from another meeting, that we had, but I'm just like, let me get through it.
okay. The last question I'll ask you is a question about unity. I know we're running short on time, but it's the question that a few years ago, incident at a school happened where that was pretty negative, right? Like that
Mhm,
seemed to uh, talk about like racial disunity, and
mhm,
people thought that it might be something that is widespread in the city. And there were conferences on it. I know that All Politics Are Local, the mayor, sponsored a conference about it.
wow.
What would you do to, well, first, do you perceive that there is a problem between Blacks and Latinos in the city of Newark? And what would you do to try to have greater unity
Okay.
if you were elected?
Now, I won't say it's quite a problem, but it does exist. Look at this election. Just look at how we're even promoting each other, how we're grouping each other. Maybe it's just a coincidence that, the north, the east, the south, west, central, that's very clear, unfortunately. And you do see that. I'm not sure which incident. I heard about a couple, but I was at a school board meeting one night when the family came up to talk about it. And I felt as though it really wasn't addressed. Maybe it was addressed after, just like today. I'm just hearing about the forum that you guys had. And that's another thing. It's like there's great things that are going on in the city, but everyone is not being privy to it because I would have loved to be a part of that conversation or to hear about it. Because when that family came up to talk about it, it was like they were dismissed. I don't have all the details, so I don't want to say, oh, I'm picking sides, but I felt as though a conversation really needed to be had. And with anything that goes on in our city, because there is a division, because we talk about when the topic of the sanctuary city comes up, the topic of, well, covering the immigrants. It's not that I wouldn't want to cover, but at the same time, you have other individuals that feel like, well, what about us? Well, why hasn't anybody spoke up? And the other night, I will say a point did come up at the mayor's debate that I believe the mayor did say that we have to protect this group first because if they do it to this group, then they will feel comfortable doing it to the next group. Now, for once, I could say, okay, I do see that point because lately there's been points I haven't been able to see or agree, but I'm a fair person. But I feel like we're lacking communication in our city. There's so many things that are going on. There's a lot of division, not just with Latino and African American Black, it's with everyone. And unfortunately, even with this election, it shouldn't even be the way it is. A lot of people, because they're running, number one, if you're running, it takes a lot to run. Everyone doesn't have the big teams, the big funding, the big money. Everyone doesn't have the bravery to try to even do this. Nobody is anti-mayor. I know I gotta speak for myself. I'm anti the process. And unfortunately, through the years, I was a big fan when he was council. Right now, and it's not just with him, it's even with our council members. A lot of things have been forgotten about, and the citizens come forward to bring concerns and suggestions. That's why I kind of, I always try to bring a suggestion because I've learned that if I'm going to bark about something, what would be the solution? But when you're dismissed on all levels, we're not talking to each other. And even with this race, it shouldn't be looked upon, oh, she running for a reason. People are suffering in silence. I'm not here to just take over. I never said it was easy. I never walked in any of their shoes. But at the same time, being my elected official, have you walked in my shoes to see what I'm bringing? It shouldn't be, oh boy, here she go again. It's like, you know what? She's coming again. Let's look into it. I know a family now, their door blocked out since March illegally. You've been to the council, you've been there, you contacted them. What is the delay? And I believe that sometimes when people are not in a situation or maybe just forgot why they did this, sometimes they need to be reminded, because the job is elected, but it's still a job. And just like jobs, if you're not doing well, I'm going to have a meeting. I'm going to let you know, what are you doing? It's up to you to change it and make it better. Don't come back with the excuses. And if you're not ready to make the changes and you think you want to still be in a position, then you either remove yourself or somebody else is going to come in. Thank you.
No, thank you. Right. And I know that we have our next guest up, but what is your ballot position?
I am 3B. That's me, Nadirah Brown, 3B. Nadirah A. Brown, because there's another Nadirah Brown. There's a couple of us in the city, but remember that A initial when people try to research.
Okay, and Donna, that very last question, you want to throw it out?
And Nadirah, as you prepare between now and Tuesday, election day, this is a hip hop political show.
Yeah.
Who will you be listening to?
Oh, well, this week I'll be listening. I'm a tourist, born the 16th of May, because I'm the Magnificent Special Ed. We both born May 16th. So I listen to that, and I listen to na 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 na, because I'm a no limit soldier. So you know, I'm a little older, but I love hip hop. Yes.
All right, Rhino, we wish Rhino was here.
Right.
Well, happy Mother's Day.
Well, thank you. Happy Mother's Day. Also, you know, things come so fast. It was like, wait a minute, it's Mother's Day, and see, Mother's Day and my birthday always the same week. So you know. It's like, all right, but this election, this is different. But thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it, because this is a great platform, and I'm just thankful this you allowed us to speak. Thank you.
No,
Thank you for being here.
And good luck. And good luck.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day. Thank
Wish you
you.
success.
Take care. All right, so we try to have lots of different candidates on from all over the city, no matter, you know, who's running. And a lot of times people they email allpoliticsalocal@gmail.com. We see the email and we try to fit you in, right? We're not going to be, there are a lot of people who are running this time. We weren't going to be able to have everybody, but we try to fit in who we can. We have our last interview for tonight. Not
from the
Newark,
great city of Orange,
Orange,
New Jersey. Coming in from the North Ward. And Lynn, we're going to let you introduce yourself. You're running up against a long-term incumbent. So take the time and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and why you should be the candidate elected for the North Ward seat of the city of Orange, New Jersey.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Lynn Ogbourne. I've been living in Orange now for 19 years. I've raised my children here. And I'm running because I was placed in a situation that kind of sped up a process for me. Living here now, a developer brought out a single home across the street from my house, and tore that home down and built a 126 apartment building. And they did a study on, I think it was like on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so it kind of left me feeling angst and anxious and didn't know what my decisions were going to be. Should I move? This was my forever home. So that was the first time that I really felt that decisions were made that impacted my life directly, to the point where I didn't know if I needed to sell, what the process would be. And that's what got me off the porch. But
All right,
two,
go ahead.
yeah, that's what got me off the
Okay.
course. But I wanted to add, if you wanted to know my background, but what was your question? What was your question?
No, continue. Tell us your background.
Yeah. So
And Jonathan is asking you a question, but he hasn't taken himself off mute.
Right, but the first question is always about your biography anyway. So what is there again about your biography that makes you the perfect candidate for North Ward of Orange?
Yes. So I have a master's degree in business management, and I am a project manager. I'm a senior project manager, and I work on initiatives throughout the states, working on Medicaid systems. So 80% of my, I wouldn't say 80% of what I do is communications, right? I work with men around states that have to be held accountable. The money has to be held accountable. I understand how directly when states don't do well, it affects people. And so working with Medicaid systems, setting up Medicaid systems, working with governors throughout different states. Right now, I'm working on Arizona. I'm working on a Medicaid system in Arizona. So I'm familiar with budgeting. I'm familiar with working within the government as a consultant. And I understand that, communication is key. And that's what I have. I have a background in also, what I really like about my job as a project manager is about networking. It's about building trust and building relations.
Jonathan, are you talking, or you want me to go ahead?
No. I was going to ask the next question. And
Go ahead.
that next question is, what is it that, if you had to create policies, and because policies are just solutions to problems. So
Sure.
what do you see, and you could talk about any of this, what do you see as policies that are really, really good in Orange right now that you would keep, that you would support? And what do you see as things that you would champion, that you would push, that are solutions to the problems that you see?
First, one of the policies I would like to, what I realize with Orange is that they have policies on the books. I think that those policies are not reinforced. So it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about enforcing what we already established. I think that there needs to be some follow through and just following up what is already there. I'm not against development. I do like the development that is happening in Orange. We need multi levels of people here. That's how we grow. We grow by diversity. We grow by having different stages and salaries that are in our towns, right? That's how we get a flourished and thriving community. My policy would be to really tackle the abatements that have been given out right now in Orange. I don't know why anyone would get a 30-year abatement. I think that we would need to probably lessen it and then revisit it after a while. Even if we do a 10-year abatement, and if we go in 10 years and they still need it, then we can do that. I just think giving out blank abatements is unconstitutional. I would also like to make sure that anyone that gets abatement in Orange, that as long as you get those abatements, we need to keep on the books income or low income apartments for our residents, right? Because I'm hearing from some of the residents that some people were able to get into some of the new buildings, but after 2 years, they had to leave. So we won't be doing that. What I would like is to set in stone that if you are getting any abatements out from Orange, that the residents get to benefit from that.
Okay. And Donna, is there another question that you would like to ask? The question that I usually have prepared is very specific to things that went on in Newark. Donna, I know you love Orange. Orange is the thing. What is the closing question?
Well, Lynn, the question that Jonathan was going to ask about, do you see, he asked the Newark candidates, do you think there is a problem? How did you word it, Jonathan, with
is there a racial ethnic problem between Blacks and Latinos? Because there's very specific incidents that happened in Newark. I'm not familiar with the issues in Orange, so I didn't necessarily want to ask that question if the problem doesn't exist. But you know Orange better. So
yeah, but let me ask you. similar to you, that when you look at what's coming down for the federal government and you hear while you're walking on the ground, do you see, like, in instances of ICE and things like that, because we do have a big diverse community and many Latinos and as well as other cultures. Do you see that we have any problems with race relations here in Orange?
Oh, that's a good question. And that is a great question. And I, like that he asked it with your Newark person running for council. What I'm noticing, and especially on the North Ward, which is unique, each ward is unique to itself, that we have a heavy population of Hispanics and people from the Caribbeans and, different parts of the country. I haven't seen ICE, but I know that they have targeted Orange more so than they did previously. So there was definitely a deliberate target on Orange. We don't have any policies right now in place that would help the residents. Thank God for what the governor put in place. But what I can tell you is that even from what I hear, and I'm hearing some people that said, they don't even feel like they need to go to the Hispanics because they don't vote anyway. But we understand that even though they don't vote, these people are in our community. They are homeowners. They have businesses, so they're paying taxes into this town. We have to still, as we vote, also have to consider them, right? They are our residents. They're here now. I haven't seen any incidents, but I hear some of the ignorance. I hear ignorant statements about, Hispanics and people that don't live here and were not born here, excuse me. So yeah, and some of them, they have their children that go to these schools, right? And listen, my goal is to be encompassed to all. If you're here, we need to make sure that they are safe. Everyone needs to feel safe in their communities. And there's more that we could have done, and it hasn't been done. But I hear, don't vote. One person even called them criminals. So, it's here. It's here. It's not an Orange thing. It's like, it's a Newark thing. Has permeated throughout this country. And it's something that needs to be addressed, and we need to be presence of mind to understand that these are human beings, and we know what they have done to us in this country and where we've come from. We certainly do not want to impose that on another group.
Oh, thank you. And so I'm going to ask you your ballot number or your ballot position, and Donna's going to ask you the question that we ask everyone.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lynn. Go ahead.
No, I'm 1A on the ballot. 1A.
Oh, 1A. That's a good number to be. John, I did want to ask one more question. Okay, Lynn, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you ain't doing nothing. I didn't have nothing to say. Go ahead. You're right.
Okay, John, can I just ask really quick? I want to ask you one more question.
We do have our guests in the background.
Okay, I want to ask you.
How you like to extend stuff.
I want to ask you, do you have any thoughts on ranked choice voting?
I just learned about ranked choice voting. I need some more information.
Okay.
I think, I just need to do, I just went to one and I'm going to go to another one just so that I can really get the meat and potato of what it is. But I think that, we need to shake some things up. And there's things with, when it comes to this politics in New Jersey, that has been locked for a while. And anything that can bring in fresh leadership and new ideas, that's where it needs to go.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here, and don't be a stranger, and we wish you success on Tuesday. This is a hip hop political show. And when you're preparing all the way up until Tuesday, is there a hip hop individual artist that you will be listening to? Individual group that you'll be listening to? Mm-hmm.
Sure. I didn't say this, but I was born and raised in the Bronx. Born and raised. So when I moved here 19 years ago, I came straight from the Bronx. So I'm a hip hop all the way through. I kind of was shocked that everybody was playing house music, right? I had to. We're in the Bronx. I lived on Tinton Avenue, which was off of Prospect Avenue on 166th Street.
Just where it is.
Right. I lived right across the street from Forest Projects in the Bronx.
We were actually working on a building out there in that very neighborhood.
Really?
You see who's extended now, Jonathan. So is there hip hop?
And is the guest,
Yes.
and the guest is waiting. Is the guest he invited? Right? So that's Zaid for you, right?
So Lynn, with all your
You're talking about it, and then Zaid's like, "Hey, let me just jump in here."
No, I'm not gonna say his ass.
So Lynn,
Okay.
with all your Mary J vibe going on, who you listening to, sis?
Everybody says that all the time. We come from the same tribe. But I'm gonna say, you know who I'm rocking out to when I'm at the gym? It's definitely Nas right now. And Stetsasonic. I love Stetsasonic. That was one of my favorite groups. I got so many, but hip hop is where it's at for me. That's my love. So yeah. Definitely. I'm gonna say Nas.
Nas got some new ones. Nas got a lot of new ones that are amazing. So,
I'm hearing.
You can do that.
And I have a husband who's definitely in the industry. I have a husband and who's been in the, doing underground. So yeah, it's tight over here.
Okay.
Well, Lynn, happy Mother's Day. Don't be a stranger, and we will invite you back. And thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys. You have an amazing platform. Amazing platform. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. All right. So, that's Zaid, right? We're trying to get our guest on, and what does Zaid do? He just extends the interview, right? That's come on, man, Zaid. I'm kidding. All right. So, the 1965 Voting Rights Act been gutted. There's a lot of things going on, right? Like you are back on our show, and Nuzhat Chowdhury, and we always love having you on our show. Oh, hello. I'm sorry, Zaid.
No, I just said you mentioned her name, and I'm saying of the mighty New Jersey Institute for Social Justice.
Yes, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Very happy to have you on, and of course. We also now have with us right now. Again, we have Amber. We have Amber Sherman on again with us, and again, we always love having both of you on. I don't think we've ever had both of you on together. We have Amber Sherman, who's coming from us from Tennessee, and will give us an update on the Voting Rights Act and the implications on Tennessee. I hear Tennessee's hot right now. And so we are looking forward to hearing from both of you. So what's going on?
Well, let me introduce this another way, Jonathan.
Okay.
Important to appreciate, and particularly, this is a dark moment, a tough time, and in this conversation, I'm probably the only one that's old enough to even have memories of April 4th, 1968, Memphis, Tennessee. Right. So I want to put that in context right away, that we are having a conversation now about one of the clearest, darkest, most dangerous existential threats to what this country calls a democracy. And we need to take it very seriously. Right. Amber is in Memphis, where as soon as that decision dropped, their governor went right in and did this redistricting and wiped out the only district in the most densely populated African-American community in the whole state and wiped it out and cut it into 3 pieces. It's a direct example of what the harm that this thing can do for a whole lot of people in a whole lot of this country. And then we come back to Jersey. We got a bill. We got one of the anecdotes to this kind of decision, right? That got through the assembly, but it just stalled in the Senate. And we need to have that hard conversation, no matter who it makes uncomfortable, to break that stall. So I just wanted to bring some urgency to this conversation as we have it. Glad to have y'all both here. Proud of what both of y'all are doing and what you represent. We need to multiply Nuzhats and Ambers all over the damn country, right? And we need to not play around what this whole question is. Now, Jonathan, you go back to where you were.
I was going to say, tell me about what's going on, because I know that each of you will have a particular context to how the Voting Rights Act and the decision directly implicated the stuff that's either been going on or is going on now. I know that, Amber, when we talked to you last time, you were talking about the impact of ICE and the way that you were talking about people using mutual aid and the amount of liberties that local police had took and the literal fear that people had of going outside, right? And we're talking about Black people and brown people, because we can't pretend, as we talked about last time, that if you're attacking one group of Latino citizens, that, or Latino people, right? Like that you are not attacking, you are not setting yourself up to attack Black people soon. So all of those things come into play. So either one uh, uh, of our wonderful guests, come on, talk to us about either Tennessee or New Jersey. Amber, we can start with you.
Okay, cool. So I can just give some updates on what's been happening in Tennessee so far. This week, the governor called a special session that started on Tuesday, which was also election day in Memphis and throughout the whole state of Tennessee. So I wasn't there at the special session because one, I had to go vote and I was doing work for my job for election day, as most people were, which we also felt was, intentional and malicious. And so we organized with Nashville groups to make sure that they could be there at the Capitol on the first day of the special session, to hold them accountable, to disrupt the committees, to make sure they could feel the dissent and that we were not okay with what they were doing. And then on Wednesday, we brought up 3 buses of people from Memphis. Folks from Nashville showed up once again, and they went through committees on the Senate side. The 3 different bills being discussed was, one, a bill to change the law that Tennessee has around reapportionment, that you cannot consider redistricting or redrawing congressional maps in the middle of a 10-year period. So they wrote a bill to remove that requirement. And then there was another bill that would change the deadlines and the requirements for congressional races. So if someone was running for Congress, they would not have to meet the residency requirements because of this specific special circumstance, which we also felt was just a way to make it easier for these hardcore Republicans to run in these races who don't live in the community, because we already have
Wow.
had Republicans, senators announcing they're going to be running for the congressional district about an hour after the bills passed yesterday, who don't live in the congressional district. They don't live in congressional district 9, but yet they're running for congressional district 9. And then yesterday in the state capitol, the House and Senate sessions happened where they were going to be voting to pass the bills after they passed through committee. And we were there full force once again, loud as can be. There were multiple direct actions happening between different community groups, between the state senators and the state house. The state reps in the house took to the well and began a direct action. There were folks with blowhorns. There were over 300 body alarms dropped all throughout the House and the Senate that they still have not all found. It's to this moment. That are still going. Huh?
Disrupt, baby, right on.
Yeah, so those are still going off in the Capitol right now. And they did pass the maps. And then after that, we walked out with the state reps and the state senators. I do want to give a shout out to Senator Charlene Oliver, who stood on top of her desk before they got to vote and unfurled a banner that said "No Jim Crow 2.0, Stop the Tennessee Steal," because I think it's really important when state reps and senators listen to us when we say, not only do you need to advocate for us, but you got to disrupt. You can't let nobody take your rights and your community rights, and you take that shit lying down. And a lot of them were doing that. And so I'm really proud of her for doing the right thing and getting on top of that damn desk and throwing out that banner and holding it till they literally snatched it from her hands. And it was amazing to see. And so many other reps should have done the same thing. But, I think that something is better than nothing. And I'm glad that she was, willing to be brave in that moment and do the right thing there. So now they passed these maps. There are multiple lawsuits happening. The NAACP just launched a lawsuit yesterday after the maps passed, about 2 hours afterwards. The TNDP launched a federal lawsuit this morning. And I know there's at least 1 or 2 more to come. So we'll see what happens. The NAACP lawsuit is asking for them to delay the congressional maps because they did not follow the legal rules around reapportionment. because the special session that was called by the governor did not include specific language to say they could draft a bill for reapportionment, to change reapportionment. And that would be required language for a special session. He said they would be meeting for a special session to discuss redistricting, not reapportionment, and not changing the law for reapportionment. And so they're suing for that in a local, in Davidson County Chancery Court, which is local state court. The TNDP is suing in federal court. So we'll see what the full complaint looks like. I'm not sure what the full complaint looks like because they just launched it a few hours ago. But I can always send you some updates, Baba Zaid, of what the lawsuit looks like.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And it's just out of context, like how much are how red is the state in terms of what is the number of votes that is even possible to make a difference? I know, like, the question I'm asking might sound crazy, but just how outnumbered are you in Tennessee?
We're not outnumbered at all, first of all. Our congressional district that they redrew us out of was an organic district. It was not a Voting Rights Act district that we were given because of a legal challenge after the Voting Rights Act was passed. This was a congressional district that was organic because Black people chose to live in Memphis, and the majority of them lived there. Over 600,000 Black people live in Memphis. And so that's a huge voting power, huge voting block that you would have to break up to actually make it harder for us to elect a candidate of our choice. It's
That
still
goes
possible
back
to
to the
elect a candidate.
1920s.
So they literally split up Memphis into like 3 different sections.
They split us up into 3 different districts, but I do just want to say it is very much still possible for us to elect a candidate of our choice. It's not impossible. The districts that they drew actually make 4 of the 9 congressional districts very competitive. Congressional District 5, 7, 8, and 9 are all competitive now because even when you try to break up Black voting power, there's still people in those areas that are still going to vote Democrat that aren't Black. And the areas they put us in with more rural voters have actually started to turn more blue after the last congressional election, the special election for Congressional District 7 that just happened last year, because people are fed up with Tennessee politicians, even the Republicans. Over every single county that Congressional District 7 was currently in before this map was drawn, went 12 plus points to the left. So 12 or more points to the left. And we're talking about plus 30 Republican districts. So the idea that us just redrawing these lines is gonna, make sure that we get these seats is not realistic for Republicans, if we're being real, because they can draw the lines however they want, but the voters still might not choose them. And based off of the record and what we're looking at from these special elections, they don't want to choose them, and they haven't been choosing them.
So you're saying that in those particular districts, there is real opportunity for coalitional politics.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That will be a surprisingly good point. Good point that would come from that. We want to bring in Ms. Chowdhury from New Jersey Institute of Social Justice. What has been going on in New Jersey? How does it relate to what has been going on, and how does it relate to what has been going on in Tennessee?
And Nuzhat, before you even go there, let me just say this. And this is some point I've been trying to make, sounding the alarm as we do on the streets and that we do in organizing. Elections have consequences. And what do I mean by that? For all of her limitations, had somebody else won this last gubernatorial election, what we're talking about in Tennessee would be right in our face in New Jersey. So now, Nuzhat, with that context, with that edge, jump on in with your answer.
Yeah, absolutely. What has happened with the Supreme Court is something that New Jersey voting rights advocates and democracy advocates have been warning 4+ years. I've been on this show before to talk about the John Lewis Voter Empowerment Act of New Jersey, at least twice, I think.
Yes, you have.
This is state legislation. This is state legislation that would create our own Voting Rights Act here in New Jersey. So take all of the federal protections that we used to have state law. had we passed that already, as we have been advocating for, I think New Jersey would be standing in a much stronger position now to weather through maybe some of the after effects of the decision from the Supreme Court in Calais. What we have been facing for the past 4 years is just those in power saying that the same problems that they have in New Jersey. It's okay if the federal VRA, is no longer protecting New Jersey the same way that it was before, because we don't have those problems here. Our elections are fine. People aren't facing discrimination. And I think everyone here on this show knows that that's just not the case.
You froze, Nuzhat.
To prepare, New Jersey needs to pass a bill, and they still haven't yet.
So the $1 million question is, we had Governor Murphy, Phil Murphy, the progressive. We got a Democratic Senate. We got a Democratic Assembly. We got it through the Assembly. How come we're stuck after several years?
This is a question that we've been asking for 4 years. You would think that given the makeup of the New Jersey legislature, that this would be a slam dunk. You would think that by now we would have already passed it, since we've been anticipating what is going to happen to the federal VRA. What I will say is that there's not really there's not the same sort of consensus around protecting voting rights. That one of the number one question that we keep getting asked when we talk to legislators, when we went to the assembly hearing in order to try and advocate for these protections, we just keep hearing, well, why do we need it in New Jersey? And I think that lack of political will, that lack of having to admit that New Jersey faces a lot of these similar problems, that's really keeping that urgency from building in a legislature and in a state that you would think would pass this before the harm occurs to our communities.
Have you heard anything different since this decision just dropped? Has there been any healthy rumblings within the legislature that what might make you feel a little different about trying to get this done now?
For a while now, I think, we have had a really strong sponsor in the assembly side, Assemblywoman Reynolds Jackson, who is, her sponsorship and her championship really helped us move the needle in this. So it really has been for us difficult on the Senate side to get the same sort of momentum. What I will say is that we are having some productive conversations right now on the Senate side, and I want to be optimistic and hopeful that we will come to a place where we can protect New Jersey voters the way that they deserve to be protected.
Are you at the point where we need to have constituents start calling in to try to push the needle?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. What we are specifically the advocates as a part of the coalition that's been working on this effort for all of these years. What we're trying to do this month is to show the Senate president, this is not something that is just coming from advocates. Voters care about democracy. Voters care about the Voting Rights Act being gutted by the Supreme Court. Voters want the Senate. They want the state legislature to protect them. And so the more constituents can call the Senate president, can call their legislators, can call Senate leadership and let them know that this is what they want and need, the closer we will get, I think, to hopefully moving the needle in the Senate.
Okay. And so is the ask to call, I think you just said call the Senate president and their individual legislators as well?
Absolutely. Okay. So the Senate president for sure. And yes, individual legislators and Senate leadership, which includes Majority Leader Ruiz, who represents Essex County. She used to be a sponsor on the bill. She no longer is, and And I think we want to get her back on the bill.
Now, the question I have about this particular bill, especially at this time, I saw an interview with Governor Sherrill, and she was talking about doing redistricting in New Jersey to eliminate Republican seats as part of that trend to fight back. I know that today, Virginia was the Virginia vote to actually redistrict Democratic seats and get 4 seats there has been overturned because of state law. And it seems like this bill is a good governance bill. Is this the good governance bill politically that we need right now? As in, would it make the type of partisan gerrymandering that's necessary to counter what's happening in Texas, in Tennessee, and Louisiana? Like, there's a movement to literally steal Congress that has to be countered by an equally ruthless movement in northeastern states. Is this particular bill something that would get in the way of that?
So this bill would not get in the way of it. In New Jersey, in order to do the redistricting sort of that you were talking about, the process is a little different. Because redistricting it's done through the state constitution. So in order to do any of those, sorts of amendments or changing the law around redistricting, we would have to pass constitutional amendments. This is done through state law and the state legislature. That's what the John Lewis Act is. So the act itself does not respond to state level or congressional redistricting. Those two things are within the New Jersey Constitution. But this particular act would protect New Jersey voters against racial discrimination at the polls, make sure that they would get translated ballots, and in local redistricting efforts, if there were racially discriminatory maps, then this bill would give courts tools to address those discriminatory maps, but only on a local level, because again, the state and congressional level has to be through the Constitution.
Oh, great. And the thing that I'm asking also, it seems like, and I'm going to bring in Amber right after this to comment on this. It seems like what's been going on with these, with the way in which the Supreme Court and federal courts are interpreting civil rights laws to be pro-white supremacy. And it seems like they are looking at treating everything equal, but without context. And without that context, they have turned the 1964 Civil Rights Act into something that can protect white people against discrimination against Black people, and as a tool for white grievance.
Black people.
And they did the same thing, right? And they did the same thing with the Voting Rights Act, when they are literally interpreting that as you are being racially discriminatory if you are not allowed to break up majority Black districts. Is there language? Is the difference because the language that you are supporting specifically is about pushing back against white supremacy, protecting? Like, is there language specifically protecting Black people, or does it try to be colorblind, as in the language of the as in the language that gets manipulated now?
No, absolutely not. The State Voting Rights Act really is modeled after what the Federal Voting Rights Act was at its height. And the Federal Voting Rights Act is very explicit that it is meant to protect Black and other voters of color, to deliver the promises of the 14th and 15th Amendments, the Reconstruction Amendments. So the state VRA, the NJVRA, as we call it, it is specifically also meant to protect Black and Brown and other minority voters. And there's explicit language in there to make sure that those are the communities that are being protected from voter suppression, from vote dilution. So the heart of this bill really is about protecting Black and Brown and other voters of color. And the bill is explicit about that.
Okay. For question for Amber that's very similar, is there a is there a legislative solution to what's going on in Tennessee, or is it just a
No,
mass movement? And like what is it that people are working toward?
no, I don't think there's a legislative solution. I think that it would have to be mass movement, mass organizing, building up, continuing to build up Black voter power, but I don't think there's a legislation path there.
So what is this? So what is the movement right now? Is it in the massive turnout? Like what is the organizing principle that's needed for Tennessee?
I mean, I think some of the main things we've been working on for the last few years is voter education, increasing voter turnout, making sure voters know when elections are. The election commission, as most election commissions in any state, isn't required to do any real voter outreach. They post stuff on the internet, but they don't send like a reminder card. They don't even send a reminder text. Like they don't remind voters of elections. They barely provide them any real information. So all the onus is really on candidates. And so unless you're a candidate that's running, that's targeting voters, then you most likely aren't sending anything out, and you're not sending out things to every single voter. You're not contacting every single voter. So that's why movement orgs and community orgs have to step in, because other folks, really only want to focus on super voters, folks who vote all the time. They don't focus on, these registered voters who have never voted or are very infrequent voters. And so we have to step in and provide them with information, make sure to know there's an election happening, because also, like I said before, our election commission isn't going to do that.
So the focus that you have right now is that you have to focus on the people who normally don't vote and educate them as to why they should. If that happened, what is the possibility of Tennessee becoming purple?
Tennessee is already purple. I would say the possibility of Tennessee becoming blue is um maybe like 60%, but it would require like 30-40% turnout. Because there's, I mean, like I said earlier,
That's
there's a
it?
lot of people who are.
Just 30, 40%? Because, okay, so you're breaking things down to me that are new, right? And I think that everyone should hear about your analysis on this. First, you said Tennessee is already purple. Break this down for us. Help us explain. Because you got two Republican senators, you got a Republican governor. There seems to
Mhm.
be red all the way through. You're saying it's purple. You're brilliant. What do you mean by this?
Well, I say it's purple because Tennessee hasn't always been red. Tennessee was blue like 10 plus years ago, for one. But also, the congressional districts we're talking about that got broken up is the same type of district makeup as Nashville that was also broken up. So 2 years ago, Nashville, which is Davidson County, which is a large Democratic voting bloc, not as big as Shelby County, but it's like the second largest, was also broken up into 3 different congressional districts as a way to dilute their voting power, because they were getting very close to electing a Democrat Congress member. I mean, like dangerously close to electing one. Like it was very close. And then after they redistricted those areas, and broke them up into 3 different congressional districts, we had Congressional District 7 that included Montgomery County, Williamson County, and other areas around Davidson, but also Davidson County. So areas that typically would not have the same type of racial makeup or like economic makeup, but were voting them because they were pissed off and tired of the Republican agenda that hasn't gave them anything and hasn't responded to any of their needs. The costs are still rising here. Hospitals are still closing. We have no affordable health care. Kids aren't getting food. Our governor has denied free money to give kids free meals in the summer. Like, people aren't okay with that, and so they're flipping. They're flipping back to voting Dem. Folks who have never voted Dem are flipping to voting Dem. So that's what I mean when I say it's more purple, because when we actually engage voters, this special election that just happened last year was actually a great example of what it looks like to actually engage voters heavily and get them to turn out. Because when we do engage them, we can get them to vote on our side, but it does involve a lot of engagement that really only was happening because so much money was flooding in for that special election. And the same thing goes for this congressional district that was just chopped up, District 9, because our Black voting power still exists there. It's just diluted in a way that will make you think that it's not possible. But we only had 16% voter turnout for our election that just happened last week. That's up 6% from the last county primary 2 years ago. So when I say we only need 30-40%, I'm saying because we only had 16% this election, which was actually a 16% turnout, but a 6% increase, which is actually really good for us. That was only 89,000 votes, 89,000 people voting. So if 40% turnout, that's closer to 300, 400,000. It's more realistic that we could elect, an actual candidate of our choice.
Wow. I think that when you run down the numbers like that, because 40% turnout is healthy, good turnout, but it is not impossible. It seems very doable to get people, but there has to be these high levels of engagement. You're saying what, Zach?
Especially when folks are angry.
And yes, so do you think that anger level, based on what's going on with the Voting Rights Act, et cetera, that anger level has risen? Like, or is it something that has to be long term?
People are way more amped up and angry from this, because I mean, it's not just Black folks who don't want to be redrawn. It's rural areas who are being drawn into the same congressional district as us, and they don't want to be in the same district as us either, because they don't have the same needs or concern as us. Or even like your Williamson County, which is the richest county in Tennessee, where Franklin, Tennessee is, and all that, like all those rich white cities. They don't want to be in a congressional district with us either, because they don't have the same needs or desires or have the same resource needs as us. Like, we need resources, sure, but they don't. And so we're going to suffer being in a district with these people who don't need resources, because then that Congress member isn't really going to advocate to fund and support certain things. And so that's why the makeup of the district is important, because it also impacts the other people in Tennessee too. They had to redraw 4 congressional districts to draw District 9, like to draw Memphis out of District 9. It was a huge undertaking they had to take on to do that, which also made those districts more competitive.
And like you said, Amber, they were redrawing the maps on election day. So one question, would I be correct in saying the last time people were out with lines for election was the 2008 and 2012 election? Was that the last time?
In Memphis? No.
No, although I know, so you've had elections, well, in 2008 and 2012, when we had President Obama, you've had a lot of people come out and vote like that since then?
Yeah, I mean, the last presidential election, we had that kind of turnout. More people voted for Kamala in our presidential in Tennessee than in some of the other larger cities, because we have such a dense population.
So with that bit, so on election day, when those maps were being drawn, did you have a great turnout on that day as well? With lines and all?
The maps were already drawn. Oh, you mean like for the election?
Yes. Did you have a lot of people? And I guess what I'm getting out, because you said so.
Yeah, it was a 6%. It was a 6% increase from the last county primary. So the last county primary was in 2024. There was 10% turnout. This county primary, there was 16%.
Okay, and I guess what I'm trying to get out, like, what does 30% look like? Is that lines all day? I mean, because I don't think we've seen, I don't want to pronounce your name right, for the Institute of Social Justice, but I don't think we've seen turnouts like 2008 and 2012 since then. Am I correct?
I'm so sorry.
In New Jersey, I don't think we've seen lines. I don't think we've seen that type of turnout since then, correct? I think, looking, because I just had, go ahead.
Yeah. So in 2024, New Jersey had record turnout for the presidential election. There were multiple counties that we were seeing lines like that. It was the highest turnout across the state that we had seen in the decade. And for the gubernatorial election last year as well, there was quite high turnout. In New Jersey, also, we have really fantastic vote by mail policies. So a lot of folks.
That's what I was going to say, the early voting. Yeah, I was going to say, and also the early voting makes it look different than it did in 2008 and 2012. And I guess I was asking Amber, I want to know with 30, you know, like a turnout of 30%, what does that look like? Can we handle those type of elections? And I guess to both of y'all, is there going to be a real threat of mail-in ballots, or that's not a real concern for this midterm? For both of you, mail-in ballots will be, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's all good. I think we definitely can handle that. We had 58% turnout for the last presidential election, and so it was a city general and presidential federal election, and so I think that is doable. And the next one that we have coming up is in November.
Okay. Yeah. I hope that, and I guess I'm saying, because you said we're on the ground, and I think, you know, with this gutting of the Voter Right Act, I hope that it will cause a whole lot of intentional voter registration, and in turn, with the next couple of primaries in the general election, that we will see an increase of voters all across the board.
Yeah, I know that
so
we are.
too. I mean, I also would just add that Tennessee actually has a lot of registered voters. In Memphis alone, there are over 550,000 registered voters, but only 89,000 plus something voted in this last election. So it's not just about registering voters, because they are registered. It's about getting them out to actually vote.
Yeah.
I know that we are getting ready to get to the end of our show, and we do have a few minutes left. But we definitely want to. I'm just going to put this out here right now. After these initial primary elections that are going on across the country in the next few weeks, we definitely want to get you back. We want to get you back in the month of May to have further conversations about voting rights. I think that your perspectives are needed. I think people need to understand where you're coming from. I think that they're from the community action point of view and the reality that's going on in Memphis, and from the legal perspective from a blue state of what's going on in New Jersey and what these movements are. Zaid, I know you have some more questions.
Yeah, no, I wanted to add to your point in this way. Also, Nuzhat, I want Ryan to hear this for sure, because for the last several years, y'all have actually been going down to Selma for the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And this past year, not only did you go down, but you went down with some brothers who are returning citizens who just recovered their vote, right? And that's a conversation I certainly want to have in this space too, because you can lose your vote in this country if you're not careful on a number of fronts. And we're entering a new space of a new kind of slippery slope that we need to be concerned about. So that's all of those elements that need to be engaged. And so I definitely want to engage that group too. Also wanted to just I want everybody to know here on this platform that on Wednesday, and that y'all should have gotten it already if you haven't, at 11 o'clock at the Martin Luther King Federal Courthouse, there is going to be a rally to condemn the Voting Rights Act decision that just came back from the Supreme Court. And there's a local dimension. And Nuzhat, I want you to speak to this if you can, because folks really do not know who these people are on the Supreme Court the way they should. Tell folks about Samuel Alito, the Jersey connection, and the hitman on this particular decision.
Yes. Also, again, apologies. I think my connection is being fussy tonight.
We'll plow through it, baby. We almost do.
Okay. Yeah. So Samuel Alito, really, one of the justices, the 9 justices on the Supreme Court. He is from Jersey, from the backyard, right here. He authored the majority opinion in Calais. He is responsible for the opinion that basically says that racism is over, that we should not be considering race when we are going to correct maps that were sued because they were racist to begin with. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he is right from around here.
Folks should understand that. And folks should understand that.
But you can't consider race when you hear somebody talk if you want to see if they're an immigrant or not, right? That's crazy.
Yep.
Selective use of race, I would say.
We can definitely, they said racial profiling, good. If you sound like an immigrant, sound Latino, speak Spanish, all that other stuff, yeah, they can racially profile you. But if you're doing any type of remedies for any Black and brown person, anything like that, no, can't discriminate against white folks. It is an ideology of white, it is a legal jurisprudence of white supremacy. And I think we just need to call it that. We just need to say it, right? And just like the president and the Heritage Foundation have been railing against DEI as their code word, I think that we should make an effort to eradicate white supremacy from all government institutions. And I think we should say it. I think we should say white supremacy bad, and it needs to be eradicated from all government institutions. And have that conversation. Make that the center of what we talk about. Because I think that I think that because we are not calling the devil by its name, it is allowed to appear invisible, and it is allowed to appear to be colorblind, even though it's everything but. I know we have 2 minutes left, and I know Zaid, you can wrap us up because I know that you really have a lot to say from our guests. And again, we want both of you back within the next few weeks. If you can come back in the next few weeks, we go too long without having you on our show. Both of you have been on our show frequently. You need to be on our show more.
And we also got some.
Say that every time, and then you don't have
I know.
It, I did just want to add, because Baba Zaid brought up returning citizens. Tennessee also did just pass a voting rights bill that changes the requirements around getting your rights back, because we have some of the strictest laws. Like if you're behind on child support, you cannot restore your rights to vote. And so we did just pass a bill that allows for people to get their rights restored as long as they are making payments on their child support, not current. And for folks who have court costs and fees, as long as they are making payments but don't have to be current on them. So if you have a backlog of child support or court costs and fees, you can still apply to get your voting rights back. Tennessee was also the only state where you can apply to get your gun rights back before you can get your voting rights back. And so this bill would allow for folks who were highly impacted by high court costs and fees from being returning citizens or being behind on child support to go ahead and apply to get their rights back. And it's going to impact like over 1 million voters. So that's also a new voter base that is disenfranchised that now will be able to vote.
That's important. That's important, right? That's important. Donna, you want to ask the wrap-up question?
Absolutely. Thank you for being here again. When you're doing the work that you do, is there a hip hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to help keep you inspired?
All right.
Yes, no.
There is, my bad. I can go first. Yeah, I do listen to a lot of hip hop, but right now I'm listening to Ray. She has a song called Joy that I really like, so I've been listening to that album.
Okay. Nuzhat, what say you?
Yeah, I think the last time I was on here, my answer was I have been listening to a lot of audiobooks. That's still true, but I did tell my best friend of this conundrum, and so I've been listening to Megan Thee Stallion, and I've been quite enjoing her.
Great choice.
Okay. Great choice. Okay. And for I'm a debate coach. One thing I always love saying about Megan Thee Stallion is that she debated in college. She was a college debater. She debated for a legendary debate coach in Texas Southern. So.
I was also a high school debater.
Nice, nice.
Amber, were you a high school debater?
I was.
Look at that.
All right. Yeah, right. So we should have a show just about that. So we should talk about that.
And where are the debaters at now? But while you both on, I have the number for the speaker, Speaker Coughlin at 732-855-7441. Is that a good number?
So
Charlie, we do.
I'm
Yes, so
sorry? Yes.
Speaker Coughlin is in the assembly, which the bill has
we
passed.
need the Scutari.
We want Senate President Scutari.
Okay. All right. Do you have that number?
I should.
No, if not, we can put it up later. We'll put it up later. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it. Not anything to prolong the. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on. And I meet Amber in the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna ask Zaid to get in touch with you. We're gonna make sure it happens.
I'll make sure it happens, Amber. I'll make it happen.
Back on. Like I'm always like it's too long because it is always too long, and there's so much going on, right? So we definitely want to have you back. Thank all of our guests for coming on. We had a lot of candidates on today for running for public office. We had on the current mayor, Baraka, was on at 6:30. Thank you for coming on. We had the West Ward councilperson, Duprè Kelly, coming on at 7. We had a candidate for the North Ward Council in Orange coming on as well. We had Nadirah Brown, a candidate for Newark's Councilperson-At-Large, also coming on. Thank you to all the guests that came on. For the guests who started to come on and decided not to, understand that All Politics Are Local is a safe place that you can come to get your message out. Yes, you will always be asked questions. We ask questions of our candidates, but they should be answers that you should be able to answer. So thank you, and until next week, until next time, good night and be safe.